Alrighty, well, fuck. Okay, hold on. I can tell my hair is gonna be a little bit. If you want me to add something to the playlist, you should put it in Discord /@nongloria. Those are the people that can help with that. Alrighty, folks, welcome on in. Oh, how are you guys doing today? How is everybody doing this morning? Oh, chat. Did I see the letter to PSL? Yes, I did. What are my thoughts? I told you. I mean, how long have I been talking about this? Like, who else brought up the Communist Control Act for years at this point? Of course I know that. Of course, it's exactly what I expected. Also, how long have I been anti-Josh Hawley? How long have I been correct about everything? I'm good. Based on your recommendation, I got my shit together and the wife, and I have been hitting the gym most mornings. So you think it's going to be cooked for sure? I mean, we have midterms. Have you seen what the kids are up to? The kids are all right. Elka's on the wrong side. Oh, that reminds me, chat. I posted a tickety talk on my own last night.
Liberal.
You want to see my new ticket talk? I posted it super late, which is part of the reason why I was late to stream. So we'll try to be better at that. Here it is. Make sure you go and you like it and you comment and you bookmark it and you share it. The lighting was fucking terrible because it was super late and I was in my living room. And so yeah, but who gives a shit? All right, who gives a shit? Let's look at the content.
Wake up. The American people are already massively against what Donald Trump is doing to undocumented immigrants in this country. Based on the discourse on this app, you would think that the opposite is true, but here are the numbers. Across racial lines, across age lines, the American people are overwhelmingly opposed to the idea of mass deportations of undocumented immigrants who have lived in this country. They do not support Donald Trump. So instead of going, maybe if you didn't fly a Mexican flag, I would be there to support you. Why don't you get off your ass, stop nitpicking protests, and actually get out there to fight Trump?
All I can say is like, my phone mic is kind of shit. There's truth to that. 5 a.m. PST, 7 a.m. PST is the best time to post. People are shitting in the morning scrolling and doom scrolling in the bed at night. Okay. I will actually try to do that. I did it a little bit later than that. But so maybe I hit the poop scrollers for the morning.
Now we want to bring you the latest on those
All right, what are we talking about today? Mike was right about Zohran. What do you know? What can he say? I said he was going to win. I said he's probably winning already, and the polls are coming out. And he's fucking killing it. I was right. I mean, like, I hate to frame it like I was right. I'm so sorry to do that. I don't mean to be an asshole or be like arrogant or whatever, but I'm just trying to point out we apply this analytical method. We apply a left-wing lens, and we just consistently get things right. And so you can be confident. Be confident in your knowledge. Be confident because it's proven out and borne out to be true time and time again. I mean, even the Jeffrey Epstein shit. I told you that it wasn't going to cause some big rupture in the right. Like they'll make mistakes or excuses for anything. Did you see Hassan saying he would move to New York if Zohran wins? Oh.
Wake that ass.
Honestly, I'm an East Coast girly. Okay? Like, I love you West Coast friends, but yes, the weather in LA is better. But politics is really about the East Coast. You know, like, California is an afterthought. The actions are in the East Coast. Democratic strategist David Plouffe to become Coinbase's newest advisor. Oh, wow. What do you know? Oh, gosh. Shocking. Is a neoliberal corrupt? Oh my God. Anyway, LA is paradise. Anyone who leaves it is coping. I think it could be, but it's not. Can I be honest? California would be paradise except for Californians. And that's a harsh thing to say, but it happens to be a true thing. It's like How do you sleep at night with this many people that are on the streets? Like, I don't get it. I legitimately, I feel like my soul is being destroyed whenever I see someone on the streets, and it's so bad in LA. It legitimately is. It's not a right-wing thing to say that. It is legitimately fucking insane. And the thing that really gets me is there's so much abandoned, blighted property as well. It's like there's so many like rotten old, you know, fast food chains sitting there. There's abandoned lots. There's boarded up, you know, businesses everywhere. It's like, what the fuck is this? I guess the market's gonna kick in any day now. East Coast famously has no homeless. No, that's true. There is homeless in the East Coast. That is true, but there's a lot less as a percentage of the population. I don't know. I just hate Americans. You know what I mean? Like, I hate the way that Americans just cope with everything that's fucked up about this country, and they make up excuses instinctively instead of just feeling bad about themselves like they should. You know what I mean? Like, just be in the fact that you are in a shitty fucking society and it sucks and it's unjustifiable. Why do you always have to come up with some fucking excuse for it? It's fucking lame. Stop being lame.
Well, see, if those people just, but if we just change the housing,
No, that's not gonna do it, man. I'm just so tired of the excuse making and the no, we can't. And well, that's because mentality, that Vox liberal mentality, where it's like, I'm gonna explain why something intolerable is tolerable. It's like, no, just be with the fact that it's intolerable. You know what I mean? Just finally be like, hey, you know what? Rich people do have too much power in this country, and it's fucked up. Stand for something. Mike, I'm 40. Congratulations, Wheezy Keezy. Happy birthday. You have to remember these protests are about defending lawbreakers. If you don't like the rules of a country, then don't go to that country. But if you decide to go anyway and break those rules, then it's on you. Okay. Actually, your name is very good, Twitch Gasbag, because it's very accurate. All right. I want you to understand something. This is stupid. This is we throw around the word stupid a lot. We do throw around the word stupid a lot, but this is like malevolent stupidity because, and I want you to understand, like everybody who sees you thinks you're stupid. And the reason why I call that stupid is because the basis of understanding morality, the first lesson you get if you try to think about ethics and you try to think about morality is that law does not equal justice. Law is a formal process that exists. It does not mean justice. And there are a myriad examples throughout history of where the law is actively unjust and that the just thing is to fight against it. The just thing is to violate it. All right. I'm glad you said this because I have a tickety talk. I just posted it last night. And the answer is
Liberals.
The vast majority of the American people do not agree with you. Deport groups of people who have lived in the U.S. for many years without committing any crimes. Do you think the following types of people who are in the United States illegally should or should not be deported? Should not be deported. 61%. Men, women, white people, black people, Hispanics, young people, middle-aged people, old people. Everyone agrees. Except Gen X is the lowest people. You know, only 54% of Gen Xers think this, but everybody else agrees. No. So why do we have this law? Well, the reality is the reason why we have so many illegal immigrants in this country is because this country needs illegal immigrants and it supports illegal immigration and it brings them into this country. It's like how everybody drives faster than 10 miles. Everyone drives 10 miles over the speed limit on the highway. It's because, so we as a society all drive faster than the speed limit on the highway collectively, and no one gets pulled over and nobody gets mad at you because we all accept that the speed limit's a little bit slow. So we all say, hey, if you're driving 10 miles over the speed limit, that's okay. Just like with immigration. If you come into this country and you work, sure, it may not be what the letter of the law says, but as long as you're not committing crimes, you are a part of our society. Now, that has been, it's the reason why that exists is because this country's fucked up and we want an underclass of people with no rights who can't vote that we can exploit for their labor. That's why it's like that. The capitalists like that power. And And the rest of us need those people in our society because they're fully integrated. So if we then change the rules, which what you're really talking about doing, if we started pulling over everybody who is 10 miles over the speed limit, does that mean there's an epidemic of lawlessness in this country? Or was there a norm that already existed that our society depends upon and expects? And now suddenly you're changing enforcement. You're trying to use the law to change the norms in a way that nobody thinks is necessary. And that's what's going on with immigration. People, yes, people don't like disorder. I hate disorder. I believe in harmony. I believe in justice. And I want to have immigration reform so that when these lawful workers come into this country to say pick crops or work in construction or whatever, they're able to do so as a member of a union, as somebody who can sue, as somebody who could complain to OSHA, as somebody who could go after their employer for stealing their wages. I want people to be able to come in this country and work because that's already the status quo. We already depend upon those people. And so the idea that what's happening in LA or what's happening around this country with Donald Trump doing mass deportations of law-abiding American community members, that's nonsense. And people do not like it. They do not want it. They do not support it. And it's wrong. And your like appeal to the law is meaningless to anybody who has a developed sense of moral justice or conscience or right and wrong, you fucking baby-brained bitch. Slavery was legal. Jim Crow was legal. The Holocaust was legal. I don't give a fuck what the law says. And I'm not going to like go,
Oh, well, I guess the law says this, so I'm going to,
and by the way, the law doesn't even say it. These people are not criminals. Being in this country is not a crime. It is a civil infraction that rises to the level of a speeding ticket. Now, progressives like me want an orderly process. I want people to come into this country and be screened for pests and invasive species. I want people coming in this country. I want to make sure they're not being exploited or scammed or human trafficked. I want people in this country checked to make sure they don't have a virulent infectious disease or, you know, they're mentally unstable and coming here to do violence. Yes, there should be some minimum amount of common sense checks, but people should be able to come into this country and work and support our economy and eventually immigrate here and become citizens. If you come to this country and work for 5 years, for 10 years, and you're a law-abiding citizen and you pay your taxes and you decide you want to stay, you should be able to stay. We don't have that process. In this country, the generation of people that come here to work, it's almost impossible for those people to become a citizen. That is fucking wrong. But that's the way our system has operated for decades and decades and decades. So that's why we have illegal immigrants in this country. Because of stupid fucks like you who are blatantly racist. And what are you racist against? Latino isn't a race, dummy. This country has a lot of laws which you're perfectly happy with. This one is just inconvenient to you because you're some kind of senseless freedom fighter with a chip. What the fuck are you talking about? No. Yes, I agree with good laws that I disagree with bad laws. Yes, that's right. You got it. And I make arguments for why bad laws are bad. And when people try to strictly enforce bad laws that make no sense, I'm against it. Yes, I want cops spending more money, more time stopping. I'll give you an example of what I want our cops to do. How about you solve some murders? How about you stop domestic violence and sexual assault and rape? Why don't you stop scammers and spammers? How about we investigate some fucking crimes that actually matter, like wage theft? Why don't our law enforcement actually go out and enhance their community by protecting neglected kids instead of milling around doing fucking Candy Crush, yelling at Mexican day laborers, you fucking worthless sack of shit? I agree, and given all the global exploitation, it's of course naive and stupid to be against immigration. I also think it's good for social causes to mobilize exploited workers. What are your answer to liberal folk who support limits on immigration because there won't be enough for everyone? Immigration is self-limiting. I want you guys to understand that. People do not want to move to this country. They want to stay in the culture that they are accustomed to. They want to stay with their family. They want to stay. The vast majority of people do not want to immigrate. They do not. So the best way to ensure, because cities do have capacities. This is something that anarchists sometimes don't like to deal with because, quite frankly, they don't like to think beyond the first surface level morality instinct, okay? But cities have a certain capacity. A train can only carry so many people. A hospital only has so many beds. Schools only have so many desks. We only have so many apartments. We only have so many of these and that and this. And that's true. So there's a capacity to absorb new migrants. And by the way, we should be trying to increase those capacities. We should be spending our money on building schools and improving transit and building more high quality housing and building more hospitals. That's where our money should be going. Instead of fucking border patrol hassling fucking agricultural workers, we should be building hospitals. But there is a certain amount of capacity. So my solution to immigration is make a rational system that's fair. And this is even more important, stop interfering in other countries. Lift sanctions on Cuba, lift sanctions on Venezuela. Stop bothering other countries where the vast majority of the immigrants are coming from. Stop supporting the war in Iraq, which is why a lot of immigrants fled Syria, because we supported ISIS. And ISIS was rampaging across Syria, so people fled. Stop supporting dictatorships. Stop supporting fucking genocide. Stop sanctioning countries for no reason. We have no business sanctioning. And these countries will be stable. These countries will be healthy. These countries will have their economies grow. And we won't have this immigration flood. It's just common fucking sense. Zohran Mandami on Breakfast Club. Let's watch this and have some good vibes, man. I feel slightly a little bit shitty because I think I got like no sleep last night. I went to bed late and I got woken up like early. And so I went back to sleep. Major mistake. So it's like I had little sleep and it was also interrupted sleep. Don't you hate that? It's pretty hard for me to get woken up. Like you have to, I'm pretty tolerant. Like I'm a pretty deep sleeper. I don't get bothered by most shit. But if I do get woken up, I actually get mad. Like I hate it. Like if you actually wake me up, you have to intentionally do it. So it pisses me off. Like you have to like try to wake me up or be so inconsiderate that it's insane. Let me get some caffeine in me and let's watch this shit.
That ass up.
In the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Just Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building. He's running for mayor of New York City. We have Zohran Kwame Mamdani.
Nailed it.
Hey,
Nailed it.
There we go. There we go.
That's that.
You gave him a great tutorial right before we started.
Absolutely.
Okay?
And I'll take it.
If you don't know, ask.
That's right. That's what I do.
I was going to say it was off the top of the dome, but
Now,
we can say
I
it's a
did
tutorial.
see your video. Before we get into politics, I did see your video. You were a rapper.
You got a bop. You got a bop on your hand.
I was an aspiring rapper.
Aspiring rapper.
Nobody will vote for you based off what I heard in that rap. Okay?
And that's why I'm not a rapper anymore.
Based off the quality of that rap, nobody will vote
You see,
for you.
to be the mayor, you have to know what you know and know what you don't know.
Got you.
And I learned quickly what I didn't know.
You really wanted to like pursue a rap career at one point?
There was a point. I mean, it was at the level. So I was born in Kampala, Uganda, in East Africa. And there was a point where there was a guy I grew up with. He's like my brother. The two of us were rapping together.
Yo, come on. Socialist NYC mayor candidate Zohran Mandami gets more money and royalties from hip-hop past as Mr. Cardamom tax returns. The New York Post is legitimately one of the dumbest, most worthless rags that has ever existed. Mr. Cardamom is terrible.
I'm going to make you a countryside chicken curry.
My name is Praveen. Hello, everyone.
I gotta add this to the fucking playlist.
Chicken.
I gotta add this to the
Stir and
playlist.
fry it again.
Yes, running countries is also simple and commonsensical. I don't know one's thought about it, but you, Mike. Well, if you understand politics, you'll understand that I don't think it's simple. I know why we have the politics we have, because there's something called the capitalist class. The capitalist class is making our government do things that are not in the interest of the common people, but in the interest of their narrow class position, because they have money and power and influence, and we live in a dictatorship of the bourgeoisie. So for the bourgeoisie, sanctioning Venezuela is important because you want to demonstrate to third world countries and developing countries that they better not nationalize their natural resources and try to get their fair share of profit from it. Because if they do, then the United States of America will destroy their country. That's why Venezuela is being attacked. That's why we're attacking Cuba, because Cuba is a socialist country and we don't want the power of a good example. So we do everything we can to sabotage those countries. I'm saying we should stop doing that.
Living in our house now, Mom. We're not living in yours. Why do I have to keep telling you this? And then on Wednesday, you forget to pick up Nikhil from school. All of your meddling and these questions and the TV serial can cause you to lose sight of the fact that you are not a good nanny. You're the best damn nanny that you ever done seen. Fuck top 5 nannies and fuck top 3. I'm the number 1 nanny. Don't fuck with me. Fuck any of the nannies as they better than Praveen. Cause I'm 85 years old, 85 years cold, 85 years with my family on my back. So I'll outlast everybody on my fucking haters. Don't know me now, then you never know me later. Say, I be in an elevator. To the top, go and find your own waiter. Drinking a little water ball for me by my waiter. Not just anyone, but the hair fucking meter. At the top, where it bees. Got a great grandkid, man, fucking ace. Wrapped in a shawl just in case a cool breeze. But you never catch me, better just catch Zace.
Down for you, put the ground for you, put the sign for you, give a crown to you, bow down for you, put the ground for you, make a sound for you. This a nunny anthem, Jimmy another band time, weight class, warp ass, and all your ransom. Got a grandson that's handsome and then some spends his income.
Has Hassan seen this? Has Hassan seen this? Has Hassan seen this?
Dim sum to fill time. You talking retention.
Oh, he did? Okay.
I'm talking expansion. Got the whole squad here, keep them at attention. And I'm not in the business of taking no tension. So, gather round now, celebrate me. I'm your boss, I'm your fucking honey. Got a doctorate, bitch, so don't fucking try me. Don't need a nano, cause I'm living my G. Kitty, my G. Run this whole city like a Ramiyati. Stay setting people up, MC at the shawty. If you see me in the streets, don't be asking Guani. Bow down for you, hit the ground for you, make a sign for you, give a crown to you. Bow down for you, hit the ground for you, make a sign for you. Let go. Go ahead, make a rap for your nanny. It's a rap. Get the guap, spin the rack on your nanny. Spin the rack. Come through, give a dap to your nanny. If you really feeling good, spin a track for your nanny. Go ahead, make a rap for your nanny. It's a rap. Get the guap, spin the rack on your nanny. Spin the rack. Come through, give a dap to your nanny. If you really feeling good, spin a track for your nanny.
You know, wow. I mean, that is such a left-wing thing to do. I have a lot of thoughts on this because it's like, one, he just doesn't mind being earnest and cringe, but he's also uplifting. He's uplifting, you know, older women, which is like the exact opposite of all rap tropes normally, right? Like it's about like respect. It's about like centering an older woman and just like having fun. Like he's legit. That wasn't cringe. Exactly. Well, he's not afraid to be cringe is what I should have said. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things that's so wholesome because it shows how good of a guy he is and how respectful he is and how he values women and he values people in our society that a lot of the time we take for granted and who are the backbone of our communities and our families. And he wanted to make her the star. Like that's fucking respect. I really like that. You know, it's just like another Zohran W.
Together. I was trying to sell mixtapes on a public bus, which doesn't leave until it fills every single one of the 14 seats. Mm-hmm. That's how much we were trying. And here I am, because it didn't really work out all that well.
It was kind of like Yin Yang Twins, where they were whispering.
I heard them.
I like the beat.
Was there an inspiration for you, the Yin Yang Twins, the whisper song?
I have to say that was an inspiration for the song I made called Nani.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, for me, it was also a way of just telling the different stories of what I grew up with.
Gotcha.
And especially in Kampala, you know, I'm Ugandan of Indian origin. the guy that I grew up with, his name is Abdul. He is Ugandan by way of South Sudan. It's all these different cultures coming together. We were trying to mix it all in. And then when I was here in New York City, just trying to kind of, the song that I made was a testament to my grandmother.
Gotcha.
And how she's a real badass. And how so often when we talk about our elders, we put them in a box of a nice, gentle person who, is very much constrained in how we imagine them. And I wanted to just be a little more absurd in the celebration of a woman who gave me a sense of the world and was a social worker and should be a little more celebrated.
And disciplined you.
I mean, like, honestly, like, we love that. We love that. We love his fucking energy, man. It's called being a good guy. I think one of the things about Zohran, I like good guys. And we now live in a culture where a lot of young men are being told, don't be a good guy. Be, nice guys finish last. And it's a fucking lie. It is a fucking lie. It is an absolute, total fucking lie. Does that mean that being a nice guy means nothing bad is ever going to happen to you? The answer is no. Sometimes you're going to find people that try to take advantage of that. Sometimes you're going to find people that betray you. That's going to happen to you whether you're a nice person or a shitty person. But the more nice people we create, the less often that happens. We're actually creating these self-fulfilling prophecies. And what I love about Zohran, and also it's another reason why I like Hasan, is that we are just, people are assholes, but it doesn't change us. You know what I mean? Like, we are still good people because the vast majority of people are kind-hearted. The vast majority of people want to help each other. Yes, we all have flaws. Yes, we've all done things we're not proud of. But fundamentally, most of us are good most of the time. And we have this culture, especially on the right, of this kind of nihilistic detachment that to me reads as unresolved trauma. Like, I look at Asmongold. I'm going to give you an example of Asmongold. Asmongold is without a doubt an example of the nihilistic trauma where you basically just take your suicidality and you transform it into this like ironic detachment where you go like, well, life is a joke. Life is suffering. So I'm just going to laugh at it. And it's like suffering and pain are part of our experience, but we're all on the same boat. And so we should help each other, keep our heads above water. We should all be bailing out the water that's leaking into the boat. We all should, like, we're all here together. When you suffer, it increases the chance that I get pulled under the waves. Like, it's fucking crazy. Like, I think with Asmongold in particular, he's really fascinating as a character for me. Like, I look at Asmongold and I'm just like, he believes in nothing. He thinks nothing. He's a coward. And people are attracted to that. Whereas to me, looking at Asmongold is like, how do I say this without being mean? I grew up in Japan. Part of my time growing up, I was in Japan. And in Japan, there is this kind of sense of shame pervasive in the way the society interacts, which is there's good parts to it and bad parts to it. I think using shame as an external motivator for yourself can be useful. Sometimes what will motivate you is the desire not to be a version of yourself that you're ashamed of, right? This, at least for me, right? That maybe that's not true of you, but for me, part of the reason why, like, when I clean my kitchen when I don't feel like it is because I don't want to be the type of person that has, cockroaches in my house. So I gut it out because I realize if I leave food out, if I leave stuff out to rot, that I'm going to get pests. And I don't want to be the type of person that has pests. I don't want to have pests in my home. So I clean up even though I don't feel like it that day, right? And I think I look at Asmongold as the type of person that I would be if I abandoned shame. And honestly, I can't imagine being him. I think that I would take the Japanese route. I would take a stroll in the forest, if you get my meaning, if I was Asmongold. And like, I say that not as an insult, but as a statement of fact. Like, if I were him, I would not be him.
And discipline.
A few slaps in Jackson Heights hurt nobody.
Yes. Oh, you got slapped?
In the video.
Oh, you got old school discipline.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
In that video. Yeah. Not by my grandmother.
So question, in real life, when you do make the pivot to, do what it is you're doing now, do you say to yourself, all right, scrub all that shit off the internet. We got to get rid of that.
No, because I think that it's about being a real person. Mm-hmm. Like I enjoyed that time in my life, and ultimately I actually see a through line between that work and this work in that you're trying to tell a story.
Got you.
And You know, when you're trying to sell a mixtape or you're trying to get somebody's signature to get on the ballot at 6:30 in the morning, you know, at the Broadway stop of the NW in Astoria, it's the same thing where you're asking someone, can I have a moment of your time?
He's so rich that he could drown his nihilism and hedonism and being a figure for, but he doesn't though. That's the thing. That's what I mean. Like, he doesn't. Like, if Asmongold was taking his money and going to spas and forcing women to like sponge bathe him, at least he would be getting a bath. At least he would be paying those women money. He doesn't even do that. If he hired maids, at least he'd be paying maids a salary. But he doesn't even do that. He just sits in his filth 24/7. The only thing he spends money on is his takeout from bottom tier fast food. He's not even ordering good takeout. He's going to Whataburger. That's the peak of Asmongold's experience. He's drinking Sody Pop. There's no there. He doesn't even have hedonism. Like, if he was drinking 18-year-old scotch and dining out every day on caviar and living in a penthouse, you know, apartment or a large mansion, and he had assistants and maids and you know, he had a supercar and was living life to the fullest and being a hedonistic conspicuous consumer, I would probably respect that more, because at least he's experiencing life. He may be wasteful, it may be something that I overall don't approve of, but at least he's living his life. He doesn't even do that. It's like people who play video games all day, every day. I actually don't disrespect that. If that's what you're passionate about and that's what you believe in, that's cool. But at least be good at it. You know what I mean? Like, at least try to improve. Try to be the best at something. He can't even do that. He's got absolutely nothing.
That's better. Wow. Who the fuck drinks this shit? Yeah, I just, Okay. All right, we're gonna water the first one, okay, guys? Alrighty. And there we go. I think that's way enough. Maybe a little bit more? Okay, that's plenty. That's plenty. That's too much? No, it didn't drown the plant, man.
I think a lot of people, if they were me, they would probably hate Asmongold, but like, I don't. It's like, I don't hate Asmongold. I actually kind of appreciate him in a certain type of way. Like, I appreciate that he represents the logical, what happens if you are a nihilistic internet conservative, where you end up. He's like, that's the best case scenario. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I like him. Just keep being yourself. Like, I just want to be, I just like being able to go, that's that guy. That's it. That's all we have to do. He's exactly who you want to see as the face of that demographic. I know. And my favorite part is like people like Asmongold overplaying their hand with Trump and thinking that Trump's actually going to be able to pull off fascism in this country. I have news for you folks. They're not going to be able to pull it off. They're not going to be able to do the things you think they're going to be able to do. Okay. This country is a rebellious country. They're not going to be able to do it. All right. They just, quite frankly, will not be able to do it. So yes, am I nervous that individuals are going to be targeted and harmed before the rebellion kicks off? But the answer is yes. But Donald Trump's support is already cratering. The vibes are already shifting. Like, Israel is no longer popular among anybody who's paying attention to politics in any way. Everybody understands what it is, unless you're a fucking Fox News boomer. That's why I love Asmongold representing the right. How many right-wingers are just basement-dwelling, perpetually adolescent 35-year-olds who never shower? That's a lot of the online right. The never brush your teeth vibes, the surrounded by cockroaches vibes, that's a lot of the right wing. So I think it's fair, and I think it's good that Asmongold is the representative. Like, it could be somebody who is charismatic and intelligent. Instead, it's Asmongold. Years ago, you said how most streamers like XQC Boys who want to be edgy only stop for sponsors. That one XQC tweet that he thought was fake example, Mike was right again. Oh, I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, people get mad at me when I'm like, you know, S-Fond is a right winger, and then it turns out he's a right winger, right? But that's because I can detect vibes. I've got detect good and evil. I'm a paladin multi-class, bitch. I can figure this out. If somebody doesn't like me, if I don't like someone, I'm correct every time. What did S-Fond do? I'm not gonna get into it. I really don't care. I don't want to fight 8 people, but he basically posted shit in favor of, like, you know, ICE.
When Hitler said kill all the Jews, you'd obey your master. You're comparing this to Hitler.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, I think the thing is with somebody like Asmongold is he doesn't really know history. Hitler wasn't elected one day and then did the genocide the next day. There was a progression of dismantling the safeguards before they got to that part. They had to go through a linear progression. They had to identify the people that were the targets to be scapegoated and the people that would resist that targeting. So they started with the socialists. They started with the communists. They started with organized labor. That's exactly what Trump is doing. He's going down the right way. Okay? He's going down that path. They didn't start out with, like, immediately mass killing all Jews. They did a path towards it. And the United States is doing a Holocaust right now in Gaza. So we are doing Hitler shit. We're doing it right now in Gaza while we're also targeting our domestic scapegoated enemies. So to compare it to Hitler is the end, what you see in the rearview mirror. We're living it right now.
This is the mindset that these people have, right? I just want to read some of the comments here. Your keyboard warrior, Trump's out there fighting in the streets. Yeah, I mean, I disagree with the fight. I mean, why would I go out there and support something and go protest for something that I don't even agree with? Why would I do that? And also, it's just some fucking bricks. They have bulletproof glass windows. So do you think it would be okay to shoot a gun at them because the glass is bulletproof? Do you think it would be okay to shoot a gun at these officers since the glass is bulletproof?
I don't actually think they are. Listen, I am not one to tell you to throw bricks at cops. And there is a big reason why I am one of those people that doesn't tell you to throw bricks at cops. The first is the entire internet is constantly being tracked by the NSA. And everything you say is being recorded. And if you say stuff like that, it'll get sent to the FBI and you will be put on a list and you will be checked. And then the rest of your social media will be going over with a fine-tooth comb and they will catch you. The number one way that law enforcement catches people is when they brag. If you don't brag, or if you don't advocate publicly for doing the crime, they will never catch you because they're not very good at this. Okay? That's number one. Number two, it's against the rules. I can't say that, so I won't. It's pretty straightforward. If somebody has a gun to your head and they say, don't say something, then it's probably smart not to say it. That's how I feel about Twitch. Twitch has a gun to my head and they're saying, hey, do you like that platform? You better not say that. So I don't. Straightforward. Very straightforward. So it's against the rules. It's against the law. It's bad OPSEC. So I would never tell you to do that. Condemn it, in fact, because I have to. That's just the rule of the game. I do find it interesting the types of violence that Asmongold supports. Asmongold is in favor of wanton violence toward undocumented immigrants, but he's not in favor of people resisting that aggression. And his justification is the law. That's why the Nazi analogy makes sense, because your justification is the law. So we're saying we're taking what's called argumentum ad absurdum, which is we're taking your argument and we're applying it to the maximum extreme. You're saying the reason why it's okay for law enforcement to do this to these people is because that's what the law says. And so people say, well, that was the same justification for the Holocaust. What is the distinction between the two? And Asmongold has no answer other than, I'm so offended you would compare me to a Nazi. What is the principled distinction between your application of reasoning now and the application of reasoning that the Nazis did? What distinguishes the two? You're being asked what distinguishes the two. And the answer is he has no argument.
You said you obey the law. Hitler's also doing the law in Germany. I think that there's a certain amount of like moral decision making with the law too. But I agree with this morality of the law. Like I don't want to confuse you. Like, no, I agree with this. I think.
Okay, so in other words, you believe violence against these people is justified because why? Listen, I'm in favor of violence in some circumstances. For example, the Soviet Union invaded Germany to destroy the Nazi government, and they killed a lot of people to do so. I'm in favor of that. That was violence. Okay? I'm in favor of killing the Nazi government with the Soviet army. I'm in favor of that. I absolutely argue in favor of that. However, so I'm not a pacifist in any way. All right. I also think it was justified for the French resistance to murder and kill German occupation officials, including non-governmental Germans who were coming to just administer the German occupation of France. I think when the resistance assassinated German officials trying to control France, that was justified. In fact, I think that was a moral good. That may technically be an illegal terroristic act. In that case, I supported it. The reason being, of course, that Nazi Germany believes in racial theories of domination and extermination, and that they were aggressing upon the French nation. And so it made perfect sense for the people to resist occupation by the any and all means that they had available.
I think that people in the country illegally should get deported, like full stop. Obviously, I think that it's more efficient to focus on criminals first, definitely. But I think that they all should get deported.
Okay. Asmongold believes that everyone here illegally should be deported. I demonstrated this yesterday on a poll done by The Economist and YouGov. Only 24% of people agree with you, Asmongold. Only 24%. 61% think they should not be deported, and 15% of people are not sure. So basically, 3 out of every 4 people that have an opinion on this issue are against it. So you are 1 out of 4. There's a lot more of us than there are of you. And so we're going to protest, you fucking bitch. And I encourage you to get out on the fucking streets and start telling people that you agree with deporting hardworking families that have been here for decades. You know, because in a lot of these immigrant families, there's, say, for example, a father who works as a day laborer and does housing construction every single day, and he's lived here for 10 years. And his wife is an American citizen, and his kids are an American citizen. Or you have a couple that came in this country, and the wife is a maid, and the husband is a day laborer, and they've had a bunch of kids, and those kids are teenagers, and they're in school, and they're productive members of society, and they pay taxes, and they get nothing back because they're illegal immigrants. You're saying those people should be deported? They should be ripped away from their kids? We should lose that construction worker? We should lose that maid? And we should have 3 orphaned American kids? That's a good idea to you? That's going to help our country? Why is that going to help our country? I mean, it doesn't even make sense. What the fuck are you talking about? If these people, except for their presence, they're just here to work, and they are part of our community, and there's no legal way for them to immigrate, but we need them, how does it make sense to deport them? You evil piece of shit. The only thing you could be saying is race, but guess what? Latino isn't a race, dumbass. Oh my God, they're Roman Catholics who speak a slightly different European language. Oh my God, how will we ever cope? How will we ever integrate them into our country? They're Roman Catholic. They speak Spanish. Oh my God, they're so different from us. Are you fucking crazy? What the fuck are you talking about? This is a guy who bitched and complained about inflation, and he wants to kick out everybody who is working on jobs that we desperately need people. And it's not because Americans won't do the job. Americans will do the job. We just don't have enough to do the work. We need these people, and they're the same. Mexicans and Americans are practically the fucking same. The only difference is Mexicans have a little bit more indigenous ancestry than we do as a population, because the Spanish didn't do complete ethnic cleansing. There was a lot more interbreeding over the generations. So Mexicans tend to have a lot more indigenous blood, and they speak Spanish instead of English. Wow. Oh my God. They're so incompatible. How will we ever live? They have slightly more indigenous blood than we do. What the fuck are you talking about? It's dumb as fuck. And a large percentage of Hispanic people are white. I'll say that again for stupid fucking Asmongold. Especially in America, a large percentage of people who are Hispanic are white. 20.3% of Hispanics in the U.S. identified as white alone. This is a notable decrease from 2010, when 53.0% of Hispanics identified as white alone. What's really interesting is a lot more people in 2020 started to identify more with their indigenous. They changed their identification, which shows you how whiteness is fucking malleable. A lot more people back in the woke era of 2020 were like, yeah, you know what? I'm Hispanic and I have some indigenous blood. I am mixed. Whereas before they would identify as white. But there are a shit ton of Hispanics that identify as white alone. And the reason why this is important is because identity is made up. Whiteness is made up. But again, Asmongold is too stupid to debate any of this. Do you guys have the clip of what he said about shit yesterday where he was like, I don't want to debate. I don't want to have a point. I'm just a dumbass. Yes, we know. I need that clip so badly. Please give me that clip. What a fucking dumbass. All right, let's get back to Zohran.
To tell you about my story or our story. And it also means learning how to deal with rejection very quickly.
Got you.
Because once you've tried to be an artist, once you tried to be a rapper, you know what it means to be humbled on a regular basis, right? Like, you know what it means to be the opener to the opener to the opener to the opener to the opener. And I think too often in politics, there's a real sense of self as if people should be excited to see you, when in fact you should be excited to see them, right? We shouldn't be lecturing people as much as we should actually be listening to them.
Right.
And I think that, you know, struggling through being an artist, it was very helpful in learning that.
I thank God nobody told you to use any of that hip hop stuff for your campaign. That's what they do. This is how you reach certain demographics. They're like, please, I thank God they didn't tell you to do that.
Don't worry, it's not coming.
Now, how'd you get into politics? What got you into politics? Because some of your policies that you want to we'll discuss, I don't see happening, but I love it. So let's start how you got into politics at first.
By the way, chat, this is the #1 way that liberals argue. The #1 way that liberals argue is, I like it, but I just don't see it happening. If you ever see a liberal arguing that way, call it out. Be like, okay, so you agree with me then. So why don't you help me convince them who doesn't agree with us? Since you agree with me, who doesn't agree? Give me an example of who don't agree. Call by name. Let's call them up together. You and I will tag team them and convince them. Did you agree with me? Let's work on convincing other people.
So the first time I knocked on doors was in 2008 for Obama. The first time I knocked on doors in New York City was when I picked up a copy of The Village Voice and I saw that one of my favorite rappers, Heems, had endorsed his childhood friend for city council. And I was like, oh, this guy would be the first South Asian elected official in New York City. His name was Ali Najmi. And so I got on the F train. I went to 169th and I knocked on doors for Ali. And that was the moment where I started to get involved in local politics. I joined a club called the Muslim Democratic Club in New York. And then in 2017, I worked on my first race. That was for a Palestinian Lutheran minister in Bay Ridge called Qadr El Yatim. And that just changed my life because, you know, I moved to this city when I was 7. This is the city I fell in love with, the city where I got my citizenship, where I got married. And yet there was also a point where I knew I was a New Yorker. I didn't know if I had a place in New York City politics. I thought those two things were separate. And then there was this campaign which showed me that there was room for all of us. And you didn't actually have to give up any of yourself to be a part of it. And that inspired me to understand that politics isn't just something that you believe in, it's also something that you do as an active thing. And from there, I kept working on campaigns. And then in 2020, I ran for the state assembly, and now I represent Astoria and Long Island City.
Wow. You know, the USA Today asked a question, and the question is simple. Can an AOC-backed socialist upset Andrew Cuomo in the New York City's mayor race? I want you to answer that question.
There's a short answer, which is yes.
Okay.
And there's a longer answer, which is the fact that New Yorkers are hungry for a different kind of politics. We have seen the same politicians with the same ideas lead us to this.
OTK is joining Kick. Kick and One True King strike content partnership to produce premium live streamed events. Wow, I wonder why so many people are leaving. Hey, isn't Miskiff moving to LA? Isn't Miskiff moving to LA? Did Emaru move to LA yet, or is she still in Austin? Wait, she did move? Sear and Peach Jars en route to LA. I would love to see Sear move to LA, honestly. I think if Sear lived in LA, like I don't know him. I'm just friends with Will, but I think they would produce so much good content if they were just like closer to each other to collaborate more. Like flying, you know what I mean? Like I honestly think when the Austin Twitch stream shit just collapses finally and people who are creative just come to LA, it's going to be such an improvement in the quality of Twitch. See, but Twitch doesn't actually do anything to facilitate shit like this, which is why Twitch leadership is so problematic to me. But hey, what do I know? I'm moving home. Congrats.
The same results for decades. And this is in many ways a question of whether we want to go back to the past or whether we want to go to the future. And our campaign is one that sees this city under attack in two ways. An affordability crisis on the inside. We're the most expensive city in the United States of America. 1 in 4 New Yorkers are living in poverty. The rest are living in a permanent state of anxiety about whether they can keep affording this city. And then we're under attack from the outside from a Trump administration that is hell-bent on going after not only New Yorkers, but frankly, democratic cities across the country, like we're seeing in Los Angeles right now. And I am going head-to-head with Andrew Cuomo, a former governor who's the son of a former governor, whose super PAC is funded in large part by the same billionaires who put Donald Trump back in the White House. That's not the kind of person who can stand up to authoritarianism without seeing a reflection of themselves. We need someone who will actually fight both of these crises at the same time. And that's why I believe that I can win. And I'm so excited to have Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's endorsement in doing that.
I wanted to ask, some of the policies that you stand on is free bus service in New York City.
Yes, sir.
Could that actually work?
Absolutely.
Break it down.
So I grew up in Morningside Heights. I would take the 1 train. We used to have the 9 train back then, but I would take the 1 train to 231st, get on the BX10 to go to Bronx Science. And I remember when I'd get off the 1 train, if I could still see the bus, even if it was 2 stops away, even if I had missed it, I knew I could catch up to it. Of course. Because that's how slow that bus was. I'd be slapping the back of the bus and I could get there in time. It was good for me. It's bad for New York City. You should not be.
Thank God I'm not some seedy old man screaming about politics all day. I'm thankful I'm in school studying. What are you studying? What are you studying? Newt. Who are you studying? What are you studying? What's your profession? Gen Z child. Physics for engineering. Wow. Okay. So you're gonna stay in school and you're gonna get a master's? What type of engineering? Are you worried about the capitalists like replacing you with AI and just not kind of like rendering your entire skill set moot? Oh, okay. Chemical engineering. We've got ourselves a Walter White in the making, chat. Now here's the thing, Newt. How do you think what university are you at? I want to teach you a little bit about the world. Chemical engineering is often supported by government money, just so you're aware. And Donald Trump is trying to cut that funding. So I don't know if you're rich and your parents are paying your tuition, or are you borrowing money? Are your parents paying your tuition, or are you borrowing money to do that? You're in Sweden? You're in fucking Sweden? It's so funny. It's so funny. Hey, have you noticed what my logo is? In Sweden, the Social Democratic Party look how long the left was in power in your country. Since 1932. They've been the vast majority of time in power. They built up Sweden, which, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, is a low productivity dirt patch that's frozen half the time. So where did they get this money? Let's go and look at university. Swedish students receive help from the National Board of Student Aid while studying. The CSN is a Swedish governmental authority which issues financial aid for studies. This includes loans and grants for studying in Sweden or abroad. As of autumn semester 2011, higher education is free of charge for Swedish, EU, and Swiss. So wait a minute. You are taking advantage of a government program that Americans don't have, and you're saying you're glad that you're not like me. And the only difference is the people like me won in your country. Is that right? The people like me won in your country, so you get to go to school for free. So you're coming into the American political streamer who's trying to argue for what you have for my countrymen, and you're saying you're glad you're not me while you're taking advantage of my work and people like me. Is that right? How do you justify this? How do you explain this? Help me understand your brain. When I said I'm not like you, I was referring to someone screaming on the internet. Yes, how do you think people got this in Sweden? Now, obviously, they did it before the internet, but they yelled in pamphlets and newspapers and radio stations and television. Do you think they got it because of magic? And by the way, they're probably, people like Asmongold and people like right-wingers, they're trying to take it away. It used to be free for every student in Sweden. But first they started charging tuition to non-Europeans. And now they charge tuition to international students. It used to be free for everyone. You think they're done? You think they're done? You think they're, maybe you'll finish school before they charge tuition. But the right wing in your country is desperate to put you in debt like Americans. Hopefully people like me can stop it in Sweden. I hope you're not one of the right wingers in Sweden. I hope you're not shooting yourself in the foot because of dumb racism. The introduction of tuition fees had an immediate impact on the number of international students seeking admission to Swedish institutions. The total applications from non-EU countries decreased by 80% the first year after fees were introduced. So you destroyed the scholarship of your own country because of racism. Oof. And what had ended up happening? They had to create scholarships for international students, try to get them to come back. Nowadays, most Swedish institutions are actively engaged in efforts to attract international students. Hate to see it. Anyway, I hope you're going to continue to let capitalists trick you with racism so they can pick your pocket. You fucking dope. You fucking dope.
Be able to catch that bus if you miss that bus, but the buses are so slow. So as a state assembly member, I won the first.
It's like so pathetic to be in Sweden and be like, I'm right wing, when that is a society where the right wing was fucking cucked and tamed for a century, and your standard of living is the highest in the world. And then you see a first brown person and you become tricked into letting your society get fucking destroyed. You fucking cuck. You dumb fuck.
Kind fare free bus pilot. We made one bus route free in every borough of New York City. And we secured $15 million to do so. And it showed that ridership went up by up to 38%. Assaults on bus drivers went down by 38.9%. And of the largest increase of riders came from New Yorkers making $28,000 a year or less. And this is critical because it's not just about economic access. It's also about public safety. It's also even about environmentalism, because we're seeing that 11% of the new riders, they were previously driving a car, taking a taxi. Now they're off the road. They're on public transit. And the cost of doing all of this is about $700 million a year. Now, that sounds significant, which it is, but just want to put it into context. We're talking about that in the context of a city budget that's about $113 billion a year. State budget, about $252 billion a year. There is money. The question is what we spend it on. And what I've proposed is that we raise $10 billion to pay for our entire economic agenda and start to Trump-proof our city, because we know he'll use federal funding as leverage over this city. And we will do so in two key ways. The first is to match the state's top corporate tax rate to that of New Jersey. We are at 7.25%. They're at 11.5%. Corporations can pay it over there. They can pay it over here. And the beauty of it is that it doesn't just apply to corporations headquartered in New York City. Because when you say this, people will say, well, they're going to go to Florida. Wherever you are headquartered, as long as you do business in the state of New York, you are taxable for that corporate tax. We're talking about corporations that are making millions of dollars, not in revenue, but in profit. And the second is taxing the top 1% of New Yorkers. We're talking about people who make $1 million a year or more, taxing them just by a flat 2% tax increase. And I know if 50 Cent is listening, he's not going to be happy about this. He tends to not like this tax policy, but I want to be very clear. This is about $20,000 a year. It's a rounding error. And all of these things together, they make every New Yorker's life better, including those who are actually getting taxed.
Now, you also want to cut the police budget, and people are upset about that, right? They feel like crime is all over the place. I think a couple of days ago, 2 people got shot in Times Square. The other day, I think another girl got shot in the face in the Bronx. So people are very scared. It seems like New York is getting worse than getting better. So what do you say that, at a time like this, cutting the police budgets, that seems like that is taking more police officers off the street?
I want to be very clear. We are not defunding the police. What we are talking about is sustaining the number of police that we have within the police department. And when I talk to those police officers themselves, they tell me they signed up to join the police force to tackle.
By the way, chat, I want to explain something to you. The biggest problem we have on the left is an inability to do politics. This is cutting the police. This is the tactic that the right wing and the centrists have used for decades, which is, I'm not cutting teachers. I'm going to keep the number of teachers we have very steady. And then you don't increase funding, or you increase funding less than inflation. And over time, it starts to compound and compound and compound and compound and compound. That is, he's using the right wing strategies against the right. He's using the same exact strategies that have been used against us and the social safety net, but now he's using it on cops. That's how you use it, I mean, of course. I mean, it's very simple. In fact, I've advocated for this before. I said we need to come up with our own Southern strategy. And what I mean by that is not appeal to racists, but on the contrary, what we do is we say something like, I support Medicare for all. Well, if you support Medicare for all, that's going to help black people more than it helps white people, because black people are disproportionately without health insurance. So when you support Medicare for all, you're helping black people more than white people, but you're also helping white people. So white people have a benefit It's improving their condition, so they become attached to it, and they support it politically, but it helps black people more than white people. Every universal program helps marginalized people more than it helps people in the majority. But if you help the majority, they form the political base to defend your redistributive program. And similarly, if you hold the cops steady and you fund non-cop shit, the cops are being cut. Because if the alternative would be a massive increase of funding to the cops. That's what Cuomo's trying to do. That's what Joe Biden did. It is actually defunding the police, but it's defunding the police in a plausibly deniable way. And then what happens? If you could show to the people that public safety is improving, then you're not going to have the arguments that we need more money for cops are going to fall. They're going to become less relevant, because if crime is decreasing, the calls for more fucking cops are much easier to defend against. Look at Larry Krasner. When Larry Krasner went into office, people were like, look at the murder rate. Larry Krasner, look at the murder rate. Larry Krasner is helping the murderers. He's on the side of the murderers. Well, now the murder rate dropped faster in Philadelphia than it ever had before, because Larry Krasner is focusing on actual crimes. And he is actually holding police accountable. And lo and behold, the progressive Soros DA has the fastest decrease in public safety offenses. And so what happens? He's fucking wins in a landslide. So like, be a little bit smarter. Leo, be a little bit smarter. Newt is, I love Swedish people that are like, they watch Fox News because they watch so much American brain. They like watch American content, and they like take their society for granted. It's fucking funny. You're such an online loser, bro. Like, actually funny. If you were a real right-winger, you wouldn't go to school in Sweden. You'd come to America and borrow money to pay for your own school, you fucking cuck. Why are you borrowing money from the government, you fucking leech? Come to America and pay for your school like you should. Why are you taking money from the taxpayers, you fucking leech? The rape apologist who thinks America deserved 9/11. He literally said America deserved 9/11. Bro, you're Swedish. You're Swedish. I know somebody who died on 9/11. My family went to a funeral of someone who died on 9/11. I get to laugh at 9/11 if I want to laugh at 9/11, you dumb cock, you Euro cuck bitch. Who the fuck are you? Fuck you. If I want to laugh at 9/11, I get to laugh at 9/11. Now what? Fuck you. I know somebody who died on 9/11. Do you?
Serious crimes. And yet what they're being asked to do today is serve as mental health professionals and social workers. The same officers who thought they'd be responding to shootings are picking up the 200,000 phone calls a year of mental health calls. And what we've seen elsewhere in the country is you can actually move mental health calls out of the police department.
Everything you take for granted is Sweden because of socialists like me. Everything that makes Sweden one of the best countries in the world to live is because of people like me, you dumb cuck. Because people like you were defeated. Now, unfortunately, American racism has been imported to your country on dumb cucks, low IQ cucks like yourself with zero emotional intelligence. You're being tricked to vote for the right wingers that are going to turn your country into a shithole. Embarrassing. You imported racism from America. You fucking cuck. Oh, look, it looks like the socialists are winning again. Looks like the social democrats and the communists are doing really well. Damn. El Nazi. Fucking loser.
That can reduce the calls that police have to deal with by 20%. And in doing so, you can increase police response time to those major categories of crime. And I think that's important because police have a critical role to play in public safety. And we also need to ask them to just focus on their job and not ask them to do every job. Because what we're seeing right now is these same politicians who have given us this lack of public safety over so many years, telling us that their only answer, no matter the question, is to ask police to do more. I want them to do the thing that they signed up for and to have a Department of Community Safety with teams of dedicated mental health outreach workers at the top 100 stations with the highest levels of mental health crisis.
Sweden did a voucher system for a while. Their public school education rankings dropped like a rock when they did that. Yeah. Right-wing policy is always a failure. What makes this country so good is because of verbally abusive and insulting trolls like you. I love how you're not... Wait a minute. Your name is supposed to be an insult, and now you're complaining about insults? What happened to your facts? How come you babies are such cuck little losers. This is the thing about right-wingers. They act, when they think they are in a position of power and authority, they act like a bully. But the moment you just confront them and take them on with facts right away, they immediately start going, oh, the tolerant left is so, what happened? You're supposed to be nice. Why my nose is so fucking itchy today. Oh, the tolerant left, well, you're supposed to be nice to me. No, I'm not nice. I'm not a nice guy. I'm not a nice person. I don't like right-wingers. I'm going to give you the energy you deserve. And the thing about me is, you know what keeps me calm and makes me happy? Is whenever I'm mad, I can just pick up a book and read the French Revolution. I can pick up a book and read about land reform. And I can just relax. It's so fucking awesome. The only reason you would think the left is nice is if you've never read a book. We're not nice. Yes, we believe in universal humanity. Yes, we want to care for everyone, but we're not nice to right-wingers. We're going to do what we need to do to defeat you. If you declare yourself on the side of the enemy, if you declare yourself on the side of climate change and ecological disaster and capitalism, we're going to fucking destroy you. And we're not shy about it. Now, I mean politically destroy through persuasion, okay? We're not shy. Liberals are the ones you're thinking of, not me. I know what you are, and I know how to deal with you. There is one thing that we can learn from fascists, and the fascists told us the best way to destroy us is to crush us utterly. I agree.
This isn't homelessness. We have to deliver.
But why aren't you being nice to me? Are you used to liberals babying you and pretending to listen to you? You don't have a single argument, not one. Not one. There is not one good argument for your beliefs, not one. Which is why you can't summon it up. When called out and given an opportunity to talk to 5,000 people, you cannot bring up one good argument for your beliefs. You cannot show how I'm wrong about why Sweden is great. Sweden is great because social democrats and socialists ruled that country for almost 100 fucking years straight. Now, I wish they had been able to go further than they did. And yes, a lot of what they did is compromising. But the reality is, it wasn't people like you that made Sweden a beautiful country. In fact, you guys were the problem. So what's going on with you? What's up?
Public safety.
And when those calls come in, you know, and people are saying, hey, somebody's over here having an episode, the police, I think, should be going out there with the mental health professional. Let the mental health professional be the person who tries to diffuse that situation.
Backing them up.
And, you know, even if you want, I think I can't tell you how to say things, but
no, please.
If the NYPD got a budget of $10.8 billion, does all of that really need to go to the police? They're already super underpaid, so where's that money going anyway? So why not take some?
Also, like, do you think that? Let's do this one more time, chat. Then we're gonna watch Zohran. I'm sorry for getting distracted by a great name, but this is a great opportunity. America deserved 9/11. How's your boyfriend and Luffy doing? The vast majority of Swedes are against Israel. That's how I know you're a shut-in. The vast majority of Swedes are against Israel. You fucking freak. Why are you talking about politics like you're not Swedish? Are you Swedish or not? Because the vast majority of Swedes are against Israel. Why are you supporting Israel's genocide? Why do you love Saudi Arabia, which is the main enemy of the Houthis? The main enemy of the Houthis is Saudi Arabia. Why do you love Saudi Arabia? I thought you were an Islamophobe. Why can't you talk like a member of your own society? You told me you're in school that's paid for by the government and taxes, you fucking leech. And then you're coming here arguing against it? If it's so bad, why are you taking advantage of it? Why are you taking advantage of it if it's so bad? I really want to understand the logic. If what I'm arguing for is bad and cringe, why are you using those programs then? I pay taxes. This dumb fuck thinks he pays enough taxes for a university degree? Are you stupid? I mean, the answer is yes. Do you think you're paying the costs for your education because you paid taxes for your fucking minimum wage fast food job, you dumb fuck? Later in my life, my taxes will cover the rest. That's why we agree, you dumbass. That's the whole logic of free college, you stupid piece of shit. That's a left-wing argument, you dumbass. Why are you making left-wing arguments? You stupid? You don't have any right-wing arguments to make? You dumb fuck? I thought you were supposed to be a right-winger. I thought I'm cringe. Why are you making my arguments? Because you're trying to sound smart, and the only smart arguments you've ever heard are from the left, dummy. Anyway, come on. Let's make your best right-wing argument. What's your best right-wing argument? Probably someone who uses violence and fear to push political or ideological agenda. Donald Trump is calling in the Marines for the first time since the 60s in America to attack protesters, and you're complaining about violence? Like, what violence? Somebody spray painted a wall. Somebody threw a rock. You dumb bitch. Others say, I support Israel. You support a genocide? You support the killing of kids and unarmed women? The vast majority of the people killed by Israel in Gaza have been women and children. You support that? I should pick fights with lower ranking alpha male Sigma wolves. I mean, I think even you understand. I think even you understand that your ideas are fucking a joke, right? Like, everybody understands. I think the main problem is that, and I mean this, Newt. I don't know if you're stupid or not. Maybe you are a smart kid, but you never treated yourself or your beliefs with any respect. You just kind of floated around in gaming spaces, picking up beliefs from the dumbest people on earth, and you never really sat down and thought about things. You're in school because a system was set up by people like me to provide you with an education so that you could be a productive member of society, and you would get an education based on your potential, not your ability to pay. In America, you don't get an education based on your potential. You get one based on your ability to pay for it. So somebody who is really smart in math doesn't get to go to college unless they're willing to borrow a lot of money, and they can never declare bankruptcy. It's a gamble. Because if you don't find a job in your chosen profession, then you're bankrupt for the rest of your fucking life. You don't live in a world like that. You live in a different kind of society where the social democrats and socialists said, we believe that everybody, no matter who they're born to, deserves a chance to reach their potential. That's the society you're living in. I'm fighting to make America a little bit more like that. And here you are coming in here to support a genocide in Israel. Why? Because Asmongold told you? Or because Destiny told you? Who the fuck is Destiny? He's a music school dropout. He's a StarCraft semi-pro. What has he ever done but yap with ChatGPT on his other monitor? He's a dumb fuck. Why are you... What? Because he's cruel to people? Because he takes advantage of young girls with mental illnesses? What are you getting out of Destiny? Exactly. Or Asmongold. These guys are dumber than dirt. They don't have a... You're already more educated than them. Already. They would say the same about you, Mike. So who are we to believe? Except the difference is I am somebody who's educated, somebody who worked in politics, and my arguments are based on facts. You know, I worked at the Committee of Urban Affairs in Harrisburg, in the Pennsylvania government. I worked on political campaigns that have won and political campaigns that have lost. There's a reason why AOC follows me and not Destiny. You know what I mean? It's like, because my arguments and my positions align with actual political movements. I'm consistent over years and years and years. And then when I say something, I'm not always correct. I'm fallible like everybody. I'm a human being who streams for I think I've got 8,000 hours streamed or something. So if 8,000 hours of streaming, if you telling me you can never find an error or you can never find a cringe moment, that would be surprising. So the question you should ask yourself is, who's right and who's wrong 99% of the time? And I can tell you right now, it ain't Destiny.
That money and invest it into other alternatives to respond to things like mental health crisis.
And that's what I've said, which is that we have to work backwards from, does every dollar we spend go towards public safety? The critiques that I've said of the NYPD have been that they don't need an 80-person communications department. That doesn't actually deliver public safety. That delivers us drone footage, right? We can actually rapidly downsize that. And I've been heartened to see the current commissioner took that 80 and made it 40. And I've also said that we don't need to have a more than $1 billion police overtime budget. And usually when you say that, people frame it as if you are going after the police. But when you ask the police, there are 200 officers leaving the department every month. And one of the leading causes is forced overtime because of quality of life. They don't know when they're going home. They're working doubles and triples. This is actually something that can make it easier to do that job and ensure that we're actually responding to this, because what we have right now is not working. You know, I sat with the family of a New Yorker named Win Rosario, who's a young New Yorker who was going through a mental health crisis. He called 911 himself, asking for help. 2 police officers who were trained in mental health assistance were dispatched to his home, and they killed him within 3 minutes on camera in front of his mother and his brother.
So they were trained in mental health?
They were trained. And my point here is that serves no one. That family grieves him every single day, And we all know that that was not the way to respond to this. So why don't we actually look at what works elsewhere in the country and bring it here? And that's what we're talking about, evidence-based policy solutions that will deliver real public safety.
Hold on, maybe we stepping on our own point. If they were trained, when you say trained in mental health, what, they were trained to know how to respond to people dealing with crisis?
These police officers were given the training that right now we're being told is sufficient. And my point here is that we should not be training police officers for mental health response. We should have mental health responders be the ones who are actually the ones there.
Gotcha.
And this addiction to asking them to do everything, it's one that leaves them unable to do many things. Because right now, as you were saying, New Yorkers, when they're worried about safety, they want to know, what's your plan? 65% of crimes from the first quarter of this year are currently unresolved. That's partially because we're asking the police to do everything.
I get what you're saying.
So
you know what else they should do? Police officers should be having their own mental health evaluation. Like, that should be part of the.
It's important, and I think that's also part of why when you ask an officer to work triples, right? The longer you are on your shift, the harder it is to make the same level of decisions throughout the entirety of it. We need to ensure that we are creating the conditions where we can actually deliver that public safety.
I think one of the things about the left is the way that the left is contained is to avoid talking like this. This is the worst nightmare of the center right and the centrists and the right wing especially, is if you actually sit down and talk to the right, there is very little in the way of counter argument. And as somebody who has been in this game and read right-wing arguments, the right-wing counter argument is basically appeal to ignorance. They'll say, well, that sounds really good, but it won't work. That is basically it. There's something that you're not considering. And you'll be like, okay, like what? And they'll be like, I don't know, but there's always unintended consequences. Smug face. And then you go, well, Sweden implemented this program and it worked really well. At the end of the day, the right-wing arguments all collapse into one point, which is, I don't think it's fair to make somebody pay to feed a starving child. If I'm a billionaire and I don't want to give up my money, I should be able to say no to a child starving to me. That is the basic, fundamental, floor level point of all right-wingers, which is, I shouldn't have to care about other people. It's not fair that you're making me care about other people. That is fundamentally the baseline, the structural, the foundational argument of right-wingers. And the counter to that from the left, even on that dumb point, the left can counter it on its own terms, which is, even if you are selfish, you will be better off in a society that cares for the least of us. Because of uncertainty, because of risk, you, through no fault of your own, might end up as that starving child. And so if you live in a society where that person is taken care of, your chances of living a dignified, happy life actually increase. Your uncertainty decreases. Your anxiety decreases. So although you're being forced to pay money now, eventually all of us need these things and you will be taken care of. And if you end up being the person who ends up in the top 1%, well, congratulations. Diminishing marginal value of money, diminishing marginal utility of money means that when you have a top 1% income, that money doesn't make you happier. It starts to fall off. You know, once you start getting $100,000, $200,000, more money does not make you happier. But when you go from $25,000 to $80,000, more money significantly increases your chances of being happy. So logically, based on economics, based on what we know of human psychology, taking money from people who have a lot does not affect their happiness and their utility. And transferring it to people who don't have a lot of money does make their lives a lot better. So if you value human happiness, there is one rule, which is we need redistribution. We need to support everybody to raise them to a certain level of dignified life. And then what's really interesting is when you raise people up from the bottom, you get all sorts of diamonds in the rough, all sorts of talent that you never saw coming that actually raise the productivity of your society even more. You get more artists, you get more engineers, you get more creatives that would have been caught behind in poverty, but when you raise them up to that middle class standard, suddenly they can contribute more to society as a whole. Okay, you can ban Newt because he's never made a point. You can ban Newt. I was having fun making fun of him, but he's annoying now. Yeah, that's good. You got nothing to look forward to. Wait, what was his last point? Because it seems really stupid. All right, let's close this out. Yeah, if you go to disgusting at KKK rally, you'll get dragged too. Does majority equals being correct? Wait, what? You could work and study. I know some unemployed rat like you might be unaware of it, but it's okay. What? He's trying to argue that he pays for his college because he has some part-time job. This is part of the problem with right-wingers. They just don't know the numbers. For every full-time equivalent student, Sweden's government spends $27,765 on post-secondary education. Did you pay $27,765 in taxes last year? You dumb fuck.
I want to ask about congestion pricing as well. You know, you talk about free buses.
I already banned the guy.
Sounds great. But now you got free buses, but then when you drive to the city, you charge me $30 to get to the city. So what's your thoughts on congestion pricing and how it's affecting businesses in New York?
So I believe that the one thing New Yorkers hate more than a politician they disagree with is one they can't trust. So I'm going to tell you the answer I say in every room.
Mm-hmm.
I am somebody who has supported congestion pricing.
Oh.
I know. I wanted to tell you the truth.
Jesus.
I want to say it to your face, though.
Oh.
I've supported it for a few reasons. Because I believed it would reduce congestion. It would increase bus speeds.
Can I pause it for a second? Can you imagine being a multimillionaire and complaining about a $5 toll or whatever? Like, isn't that what it is? Like $5 or something incredibly low? What a fucking loser.
It would raise revenue for the MTA and it would improve air quality. And that's what
most people paying it aren't millionaires. Okay, take public transit then. You pay $50, $60 to park. $35? Oh, the average daily parking rate in Manhattan varies depending on location and time of day, but it typically ranges from $45 to $50. So you're spending $50 fucking dollars on parking, but you don't want to pay $5 to ride the roads? So you're giving $50 a day to some fucking worthless landlord? See, by charging congestion pricing, you're taking some of the money away from landlord parasites and giving it to the city so they can spend more money on public transit so less people are on the roads. So you're paying $5, you're funding public transit, you're taking money out of the pockets of landlords, and you're using it to improve the city. Driving a car is a luxury. We should have public transit that gets you everywhere you need to go, fast and free or nearly free.
Seen it be able to do. At the same time, I have always believed it needs to be paired with immediate public transit improvements. I launched a campaign called Get Congestion Pricing Right with the Deputy Majority Leader of the State Senate, Mike Gianaris. The two of us won about $12 million in new bus service. I'm proud of it, but it's not enough. And the reason I fought for that is when you look at the implementation of congestion pricing in places like Stockholm, London, the first day they had increased public transit. Because I think it's important to tell New Yorkers that it's not just about raising revenue for public transit. It's also about giving them a better option right there. There are some people who need to drive. There are also others for whom that's the most convenient option. We need to make public transit the most convenient one, but it's hard when you look at your app and you're told a bus is coming in 10 minutes and then you wait 10 minutes and then that bus doesn't actually show up. And so we need to earn that trust. That's where my position is.
How is it affecting businesses in New York City, though? I mean, I know a lot of restaurants are charging a congestion fee tax, and, you know, prices are everything is expensive. I mean, the other day I went to McDonald's. I got my kids one meal, and that one meal is usually $2.99. When I was a kid, it's now $12.
You bought all your kids one meal times that hard?
Yeah, absolutely. They got to split it up. We got to split it up. That's how it's expensive out there.
That's
Jesus
crazy.
Christ.
Hey, you want to let me some? But so,
crazy.
you know, so how is it affecting business? You know, especially small businesses. You know,
Yeah.
the main businesses, yeah, you know, they can get over. But you know, you got that mom and pop store that just can't do it.
You know, what we've actually seen is that since it's been implemented, foot traffic has increased in the central business district. And I think that's a big part of it, is that actually when you make it easier to get around that same neighborhood, you actually can facilitate more business. And an interesting thing that I've also seen is that noise complaints are down by a significant amount because you have reduced congestion. And that's a difference also in quality of life. But I think to your point, small businesses. Mm-hmm. Small businesses are struggling in New York City. They employ a majority of all New Yorkers who are working in the private sector. We put forward a small business proposal where we would cut fines and fees for those businesses by 50% across the board. And we would do that because, you know, the city has a $113 billion budget. It is not funded through these fines and fees. It doesn't mean that much to the city if it gets $100 from a restaurant because they have a refrigerator every year. Mm-hmm. But for that restaurant, those are the kinds of things that can add up. And so we're going to cut that in half, and we're also going to make it easier to open them. Because right now, I'll tell you, you want to open a barbershop in New York City, you got to go to 7 different agencies, fill out 24 forms, and then attend 12 activities. That does not make it easy to open a barbershop. We need to actually follow the example of Pennsylvania, where where they took an 8-week permitting process and made it just a couple days. And that's why we said we're going to have a mom and pop czar. We're going to increase funding for one-to-one small business services because we have to make it easier to survive in this city. And city government has to understand its role and responsibility in that, because I'm tired of politicians pretending like we're just bystanders to all these crises. You know, I'm texting out thoughts and prayers so the small business just closed, but actually my policies are helping it to close. We need to make sure that that's not the case any longer.
You know, I want to ask you. I'm asking you to define something, but when you answer it, I want you to think about how you would define it to somebody if you was writing a rap. Like now, I don't want you to rap. What I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying.
Look, I know you don't like the raps.
I don't want you to rap. I'm just saying that the way you would approach a rap, the audience you're trying to talk to, and you would probably keep things on the ground.
This is where I lose the election right here.
How would you define being a democratic socialist? To just somebody that.
So some of my favorite songs they start with an old quote.
Mm-hmm.
That's how a song might begin. And so for me, one of them is from Dr. King. Call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There must be a better distribution of wealth for all people.
He actually says wealth and power. Martin Luther King actually says wealth and power in that quote. He's butchering the quote a little bit. Call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. I can find it. Oh my God, no, he's right. I'm wrong. He's right. I'm wrong. Fuck. This is why I love Zohran. No, he's right. He's right. He says, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, but there must be a better distribution of wealth within this country for all God's children. He's right. He does say power in a different quote, though. We must recognize that we can't solve our problem now until there is a radical redistribution of economic and political power. So that was a different quote that I was thinking of. But no, he caught that quote right. I was thinking of the very next quote. The thing about Martin Luther King Jr. is he understood how important power was. So this is the quote that I would talk. I would say, we must recognize that we can't solve our problems now until there's a radical redistribution of economic and political power. That means a revolution of values and other things. We must see now that the evils of racism, economic exploitation, and militarism are all tied together. You can't get rid of one without getting rid of the others. The whole structure of American life must be changed. America is a hypocritical nation, and we must put our own house in order. That's the Martin Luther King Jr. that I support. The evils of capitalism are as real as the evils of militarism and the evils of racism.
All of God's children. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, to me, it's about dignity for each person. You know, the
70 years sub. XVX Colin, you sub to me, and then I send you a message on Discord, and you don't respond? You've given me money for 70 years in a row, and I sent you a message on Discord, and you didn't respond? You fucking ghosted me. I got ghosted by XVX Colin. I can't believe it.
The person who gave me this language of calling myself a democratic socialist is Bernie Sanders. Mm-hmm. When he ran in 2016 and his relentless focus on income inequality, it taught me that things could be better than they were.
My aura is
so often when
right
you're
now,
voting,
yeah.
It feels like you're voting between somebody who wants to wipe you off the face of the earth and someone else who wants to tell you to celebrate the crumbs that can't feed your neighbors. And to know that it could be more, that you could be voting for something, that has inspired me. And I think that, you know, as a Muslim democratic socialist, I am used to bad PR and having to explain what all of these things mean. And what I've found, though, is when you actually get into a conversation, a lot of this is common sense, right? If I believe that every New Yorker should be able to live a dignified life and that it's city government's job to ensure that, New Yorkers will agree with me when I bring up the example of public education.
Free education,
mm-hmm.
free healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
I mean, anything that's necessary, right?
Stabilized rent.
It's like when people, whatever you need to live in this city, that should not be something you can be priced out of. And we agree with that when it comes to school. We agree with that with libraries, with sanitation, with the fire department. But there are certain things we've picked and chosen and said, you know what? You don't need that for housing. Or you know what? You don't need that for food. And I think that we can't let the market determine who gets to live that dignified life. This is not to say that it's city government's job to deal with everything, but for that which is necessary, we have to ensure that we are doing our part. And that's why I have said I'm going to freeze the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants, because that's the mayor's power. Mm-hmm. The last mayor did that 3 times. This mayor raised the rent 9%. He wants to raise it again up to 8%. We have these tools. It's just a question of, do we want to do this? And I know why politicians don't, because there's a lot of pressure. You know, I'm the candidate running to freeze the rent. Cuomo's the candidate running to raise the rent. That's why the landlords of those same units just gave Cuomo $2.5 million. The same landlords that say they don't have enough money to be able to freeze the rent just found $2.5 million to give it to him, the single largest check in this entire race. But it helps let people know that's what's on the ballot. It's straightforward. It's, do you want your rent to be the same, or do you want it to raise?
I saw your rent was $2,300 a month.
Yes, sir. $2,300 for a 1-bedroom in Astoria.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It was 500 square feet.
It's not too much more than that. Let me tell you.
You know, it's interesting, right? Because Democrats have created all this new politically correct language for everything: gender, sexuality, pregnant women. How come y'all haven't found a better way to discuss why is socialism a dirty word when essentially all you want to do is take care of people?
I don't think it should be. I think it's actually a word that, when you break down its meaning, like you just have done, is one that many Americans agree with. And we've seen that despite all the attempts, Bernie Sanders continues to be one of the most popular politicians in America. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, similarly. And they have both defined themselves in that same language. And I think it's that...
But I think it's because they tell, more so nowadays, instead of just leaning on the word socialism, they just tell people, you should have free health care. You should have a free education. You should be able to make a livable wage. You know, they should increase the minimum wage. Like, those are just simple concepts that are all socialism.
Yeah.
But for some reason, y'all still find yourselves tripping up over that word, or letting the other side use it as a dirty word.
I think it's because there are a lot of people making a lot of money in this moment who would want Americans to think that that's the only way life can be. And I don't hide this. You know, it's how I see the world. It's the world that I want. It's one of dignity. And it's funny, there's this one guy who comments under almost every one of my tweets, and he's like, he's a socialist. I'm like, yeah, it's in my bio. You know, this is who I am. And I think it's about being honest with New Yorkers. Because I've found, you know, Mayor Koch said this, that if you agree with me on 9 out of 12 issues, vote for me. 12 out of 12, see a psychiatrist. And I found that in New Yorkers, an ability to say, look, maybe I wouldn't call myself the same word, but I want the same things. And ultimately, you have to have a coalition that asks people of just one thing.
If you agree with me out of 12 things, you don't need therapy. If you agree with me at 12 out of 12 things, you don't need therapy. If you disagree with me on 1 out of 12 things, get some help.
We need to make the city affordable. We can have disagreement, we can have tension, but we have to have agreement on that one thing so that we can build a coalition that looks like the city of New York.
Mike, I very much enjoy your daily copium and LARP of some revolution. There will be no revolution, Tubby. You can't even run a mile. Actually, I absolutely can. I think you maybe be describing Asmongold. The second thing is, this guy's about to, somebody who I agree with and have been supporting for 6 years, is about to become the mayor of the largest city in America. And Donald Trump's approval rating is dropping faster than Asmongold's life expectancy.
Sorry, but you are climbing the polls. Like, you just came out of nowhere, right? Why do you think the young people are riding with you?
You know, I think it's because people are hungry.
Because in the beginning, they didn't throw your name in the hat at first. It was just...
Look, let me tell you, I was sitting in a coffee shop in Astoria. This is right before we launched the campaign. Somebody in politics showed me a poll. And I was looking at the beginning of the poll, and they were like, no, keep looking. Keep looking. And then I was there at 1%.
Damn.
They were like...
That's what you said. Damn.
Right.
Yeah.
Yo, did Asmongold, how did his mom had lung issues, right? His mom had lung issues. Did you guys know that cockroaches affect your lung health? Did you guys know that cockroach infestation increases it does damage to your lungs? Did you guys know that? Exposure to cockroaches is an important asthma trigger, particularly for children with asthma living in inner cities. Integrated pest management is the recommended approach to cockroach abatement. However, it is costly and difficult to implement. The impact of reducing cockroach exposure on asthma outcomes is not known. After adjustment, intervention homes had significantly fewer cockroaches than did control homes. Children in control homes had more asthma symptoms and unscheduled healthcare utilization, and a higher proportion of children with FEV1. Previous research has demonstrated improvement in asthma health outcomes using multifaceted interventions. I don't know, just something to think about.
How'd you make the poll rise?
Pause.
You know, I think just by being consistent.
Yeah.
You know, from the beginning of the race, from October 23rd, the first day, I said this was a campaign about affordability. I said this was a campaign about New Yorkers who have built this city, who are being pushed out of this city. And I said that I was going to do 3 things. I was going to freeze the rent. I was going to make the slowest buses in America fast and free. I was going to deliver universal childcare. And it got to the point where I can go to a rally and I can say, I'm going to freeze the, and the crowd will say rent. Buses fast and free, universal childcare. People know. And I think for too long, politics has become about a person as opposed to a platform. And New Yorkers see themselves in that. And, you know, growing up in this city, so many of the people that have helped to raise me, that I've grown up with, they haven't always seen themselves in our politics. They have, you know, they haven't voted in a lot of these elections. The last mayoral primary, 26% of Democrats voted. And most New Yorkers, when you ask them, when's the election? They'll tell you it's in November, not in June. Most people don't know about the importance of the primary. But I've been getting text messages from people that I've known for years and people that I've just met, just screenshots of voter registration. I'm going to vote for the first time. Wow. And that's meant the world to me, because if we really want to protect our democracy, one of the best ways of doing so is that people see themselves in it. People see themselves as participants. You can't protect it at an intellectual level. You have to protect it at an everyday level. And ultimately, going back to your question about democratic socialism, it's about extending that democracy from the ballot box to the rest of our lives. If you get to choose your own leaders, why shouldn't you be able to choose the economic conditions that you're living in? Why shouldn't you be able to ensure you have that dignity? And I think that what's so exciting is, as you said, a lot of this is powered by young people. You know, young people, so often political analysts will say, don't worry about them. They don't vote at the same rates. They don't come out. And it's been so exciting to see those same young people be part of the 34,000 volunteers we have. It took us months to knock 150,000 doors in this city. Last week, we knocked that in 7 days alone. That's the level of momentum we're at, where people are just going all across the city. And my mother is one of these canvassers. Yeah. She has her weekly canvassing shift on Sunday. She's paired up with a 25-year-old who she complains walks too fast. They go up 6th floor walk up, and she goes through 10 consecutive not doors, not homes. And then when she finally meets a voter and they say they're going to vote for me, she says, "That's my son." And it's that sense of everyone is a part of this.
They say they're not.
She don't even tell them. She don't tell them. She don't tell them. She's like, you know, I have my concerns as well.
But let me ask you, you know, if you were the mayor and you see what's going on in LA, how would you handle that problem? If there was protesters, they were, you know, breaking stuff, looting, smashing police cars, vandalizing things. Of course, Trump sending the troops. How would you handle that if you were mayor of New York City and that actually happened here?
I think first and foremost, you call it what it is. It's authoritarianism. This is the Trump administration looking to arrest enough migrants that they can say they fulfilled their campaign promise of building the single largest deportation force in American history. And too often we think about it as just an attack on immigrants. It's an attack on the fabric of this country. And it's not just in LA. I mean, we have New Yorkers who have been arrested and detained today. You know, a few days ago marked 3 months since a Palestinian New Yorker named Mahmoud Khalil was arrested in his apartment building lobby, taken away from his pregnant wife, Noor, and has since been in an ICE detention facility in Louisiana. He wasn't able to even witness the birth of his first child, Dean. And we have another New York City public high school student named Dylan, who was snatched at Federal Plaza, is now hundreds of miles away from his mother and his 2 siblings. And this is personal for me because I got my citizenship just blocks from where those arrests are happening. Those blocks used to be my favorite part of New York City. It's where I got my citizenship, where I got married. And those are now the same blocks where, when I took my father for his immigration interview this year, I hugged him so tight because I didn't know if I was going to see him in the afternoon. There are too many New Yorkers who are feeling that. And so I think you call this what it is. You also make clear that Trump is reversing historical precedent in that calling the National Guard is typically something a governor requests of the president. It's not something a president puts on a governor. And Kathy Hochul is someone who, as the governor...
Asmongold wants to stop talking about politics so much. I watched him for years. I've never seen him this tense. I think he knows he's in over his head. Did anyone ever find me that clip of Asmongold being a bitch and not wanting to explain his views? My favorite thing about Asmongold is he's a cowardly creator. Like, if you're going to be a right-winger, you know, I can't make that illegal yet. But you can, you know, you're allowed to say your takes, right? At least, you know, I respect people having a spine, right? And if you want to say slurs, go out and say slurs. You know, if you want to be a white supremacist, go out there and be a white supremacist. If you want to be an anti-immigrant bigot, go out there and be an anti-immigrant bigot. I want to associate you with those takes. I don't want to do anything to you. I just want everybody to know who you are and what you believe. That's it. I want you to be judged the same way that people try to judge me. I want you to be held responsible for your takes. Asmongold is such a little bitch that he has all these takes and he won't defend them. He won't make any arguments because he knows the moment he tries, he'll get fucking destroyed. He'll get fucking destroyed. And he won't have any response. Please, Asmongold, please visit sunny LA. I would love for Asmongold to get out on the streets. I would love to see you out on the streets counter protesting. Get out on the streets with your sign and counter protest.
Of our state has been able to fight Donald Trump and defend a lot of his potential attacks on this state. One of the first things I would do is work with her to make it clear that this has no room in our city.
Like, I want you to understand how cowardly Asmongold is. These protesters are going up and standing in front of cops and military members who have weapons and the authority to use them. And they're still going up and confronting them face to face. That's what Hassan did. Asmongold is scared to go out on the streets and confront regular people who don't have weapons. He criticized, and we know what he said when he's like, oh, Hassan is cowardly. He would go up there because he's a coward. So when it was immediately proven wrong that Hassan had actually gone directly to the skirmish line, he was like, oh, he should be arrested. Because Asmongold fundamentally, and all right-wingers fundamentally, in their heart of hearts, are cowardly. They are cowardly cowards.
And our police force should not be assisting ICE in what they are conducting. You know, we recently saw arrests where the NYPD was then arresting a pastor and other New Yorkers who were observing ICE arresting migrants coming in for their check-ins. We don't need to be accomplices to authoritarianism. We need to show that there's another way of running this city and this country, and that's who I'm excited to be.
Could you explain to people why federal overreach is dangerous?
You know, it's so funny to see Republicans for whom so long their rallying cry has been states' rights. And now here they are. They don't have a concern for that at all. It's the same way that they used to care about free speech. That's gone as well. Ultimately, these are principles they only hold when are convenient to them. And what's so dangerous about this is that we have a clear delineation of what is a federal responsibility, what is a state responsibility, but Donald Trump wants to make every responsibility his. He wants to run a country in a manner that is more befitting of an authoritarian state. And I think what's so concerning is he's looking at the example of someone like Nayib Bukele and saying that this style of leadership, of having mass prisons where we send so many people who we allege are criminals, no matter whether we can find it or not.
That's El Salvador.
Yeah, that's what he wants to bring to this country. And I think what we need are Democrats who are willing to stand up and fight that. You know, we have a mayor right now who has wanted to fearmonger around sanctuary city policy. This is a policy we've had in this city for decades. It's a policy that's been defended by Republicans and Democrats alike. It allows for the city to work with the federal government if someone is convicted on 170 serious crimes. What it says, however, is outside of those, there should not be that collaboration. You know, I'm sure you've heard of Kilmar, the man in Maryland, who was taken to El Salvador. If the city he was arrested in by ICE had sanctuary city laws, he would not have been able to be picked up. That's what we're preventing from happening. And still, with what we have in place, because we have a mayor who doesn't want to enforce it, because we have a mayor who wants to collaborate, still we see New Yorkers being picked up.
Let me ask you a question, right? Why is Donald Trump the Democrats' boogeyman? Because none of y'all are running against Trump. And to me, the biggest hurdle to the Democratic Party is the Democratic Party. The inaction of the Democratic Party over all of these years is the biggest hurdle for the Democratic Party.
I don't disagree with you. That's part of my critique of Andrew Cuomo, is that he's the very kind of leadership that helped give rise to Donald Trump. You know, before Donald Trump was the president of this country, before he was a reality TV show host, he was a real estate developer in New York City. And he was someone who both parties had room for and time for. And I think that our ability to accommodate the very kind of real estate developers that have broken law after law after law is also part of what has given rise to an era of politics with no accountability. I mean, Andrew Cuomo had a video of Donald Trump playing at his own bachelor party. Like, that's the level in which all of this is enmeshed together. And I'm trying to chart a new course with this campaign alongside thousands of New Yorkers for a politics that is clearly distinct from that of Donald Trump. And I think when New Yorkers are shocked at Donald Trump's record of cutting Medicaid, of trying to steal hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA, of giving tax breaks to billionaires, of hounding the many women who have credibly come forward to accuse him, those are the same things you could say about Andrew Cuomo. We don't need a reflection of that in New York City. We need someone who is the opposite of that. And as a progressive Muslim immigrant who's willing to fight for the things I believe in, that's what makes me Donald Trump's worst nightmare.
But I saw you say that in the debate, you would be Trump's worst nightmare. But once again, why should that matter to anybody voting for you now? You're not running against Donald Trump.
No, but you are running against the authoritarianism that he's bringing to this city.
So you think Cuomo's an authoritarian?
No, I think that there's too many commonalities between him and Donald Trump's record. And my point is that you don't want to have a mayor who has to pick up a phone call from someone who cut a $250,000 check to both him and Donald Trump. You want to have a mayor who's willing to fight for the city and have that be the thing that he's ultimately responsible for. And I think to your point, we also have to be honest about how we lost this presidential election. You know, New York is the state that had the largest swing in the country towards Donald Trump, 11.5 points. And it happened far from the caricature of Trump voters. It happened in the hearts of immigrant New York City. I went to Fordham Road in the Bronx. I went to Hillside Avenue in Queens. And when I asked New Yorkers there, almost all of whom were Democrats, who did you vote for and why? Many told me they didn't vote. Many told me they voted for Trump. And they told me they voted for him because they remembered having more money in their pocket 4 years ago for their rent, for their childcare, for their groceries, even for their Metro card.
They remember how they feel. Yeah.
And as insincere and ridiculous and horrific as we know Trump's policies to be, that is how people felt. Those are the decisions that they made. And when I asked these same New Yorkers, what would it take to bring you back to the Democratic Party? They said a relentless focus on an economic agenda. I said, what would you say to a candidate running to freeze the rent, make buses fast and free, deliver universal child care? I said I'd vote for him. And that's when I introduced myself. And that's my point here, is that there are some Democrats like Andrew Cuomo who think that we went too far left in how we ran a campaign. And my point is that we actually betrayed working class voters a long time ago. And it's time to own up to that and finally fulfill the promises that were made decades ago.
Well, that's interesting, right? Because, you say Cuomo and Trump have so many similarities, but Cuomo has been a career Democrat. And that's why I feel like anybody who is going to be the future of the Democratic Party, you do have to throw that old regime under the bus. Because it's not just Cuomo.
But that bus is going to be free.
Oh, sure. but it's not just Cuomo in the Democratic Party. It's a lot of old leadership.
Absolutely.
It's the Chuck Schumers. It's the Bidens. You got to throw all of that under the bus and run it over. And people have to hear you say that, because I keep hearing y'all, you keep talking about Trump.
No, but
your party has been just as ineffective and just as corrupt in a lot of ways.
Trust me, I hear you, because I've been critical about the style of leadership that gave rise to Donald Trump. Is also a style of leadership within the Democratic Party. And I think for too long, it's been a party that has valued insider politics, pay your dues, the words and advice of consultants over the people that are Democrats themselves. And I do think it's time for a new generation of leadership. Cuomo would be the oldest.
Somebody's looking at mayor election polls. They're like, is he going to win? They're like, oh my God, is he going to win? They're getting hyped. They're like, oh, is he going to win?
Mayor elected in New York City. I would represent a completely new generation. And I think it's important for that because
I actually think he's going to win pretty easily, chat. Cuomo is a paper tiger. And this is something that I want you to understand something. Zohran's campaign demonstrates that I'm right. I have said from the beginning that these centrist Democrats, and I've been saying it for 6 months before the election, that these centrist Democrats are paper tigers. Nobody likes these people. But we've all enslaved ourselves to the idea that the only thing we can do is run in the Democratic Party. The only thing we can do, we got to compromise. And it's like, no, we don't. You don't have to compromise. You run someone passionate, you run someone charismatic, you run somebody who cares about the people and is connected to the people, and the money will be there, the volunteers will be there, and most importantly, the votes will be there. And the number one way, the number one reason that we hold ourselves back as a society and a world is because we've been convinced that there's some other out there that is just won't go along with us. But in reality, the vast, vast majority of people are with us. They want universal health care. They want affordable child care. They want good schools. They want a clean environment. They want high quality public transit. They want clean streets and safe streets. They want good quality public housing. People want peace. They don't want war. On every major issue, we are right. We have the people behind us. But what we lack is the confidence and the strengths and the courage of our convictions. That is what is holding us back, is so many liberals who have been convinced through television screens or monitors or some person that they are parasocially attracted to, that, oh, this is not the convenient season. We have to compromise. We can't go that fast. It's too fast to travel in the direction of injustice. And it's like, no, we have to stop it. We have to go faster. That is the only way. If we're going to solve climate change, we're not going to solve it by compromising with oil and gas companies. We're going to solve it by defeating oil and gas companies. And that is a contradiction. You cannot compromise with the disease. You can't compromise with cancer. It must be eradicated or you die. The United States is flaunting the anti-communist banner everywhere in order to perpetuate aggression against other countries. The United States owes debts everywhere. The whole world, Britain included, dislikes the United States. The masses of the people dislike it. Japan dislikes it. None of these countries in the East is free from U.S. aggression. The United States has invaded our Taiwan province. Japan, Korea, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Pakistan all suffer from U.S. aggression, although some of them are allies of the United States. The people are dissatisfied. And in some countries, so are the authorities. All oppressed nations want independence. It's important that we recognize that that is the reality, that is the truth. And when we emancipate ourselves from fear, justice will reign. And everybody who's a centrist, everybody who's a moderate, everybody who is a conservative is a coward. They are fundamentally a coward deep down. They are paralyzed by fear. That is what makes them conservative. That is what makes them right wing. Fear.
It's not just about age. It's not just about vision. It's also about what has your record been and who have you been fighting for? And is that distinct enough from what got us here?
Yeah, I just got a couple more questions. You said de Blasio was the best mayor in your lifetime for New York. And you gave 3 reasons. You said because he ended stop and frisk. Well, yeah, he ran on ending stop and frisk, taxing the rich, and funding universal pre-K. You said he got a lot of that done. How much of it did he get done?
Universal pre-K, I think, is one of the...
Like, legitimately... Look at these cowards. Look at these cowards. Look at these fucking losers. Look at these fucking losers. Look at these fucking losers.
Mr. Borelli, you come to Israel. I will give you a tour, okay? I'll give you the craziest tour.
No, it's
where are you at?
Israel.
Wait, do you really? Oh, I'm actually going in 3 days for 2 weeks. So
you're going to Israel in 3 days?
Hell yeah, I'm going to West Bank, interview people, hopefully not get assassinated.
Okay. I am not going to the West Bank.
Oh my
However, I'll definitely get a coffee with you or something.
Where do you live? Oh, I know you definitely live in Tel Aviv. 100% you do.
I do not. Good guess.
You
though.
Don't?
Nice
really?
try.
No.
Nice try.
I thought that's where all the femboys were from, but okay.
Yeah, I'm the only femboy out of Tel Aviv.
I actually don't know anything about. I make a ton of assumptions about you just because you have a VTuber avatar, and I'm going to be honest. I do hate VTubers. I am incredibly.
Like, hold on. I can't believe you're actually going there. Don't you? Like, you're going to like the West Bank, like the actual danger zone.
Yeah, I feel like it's not really the danger zone. Okay, they exaggerate a little bit. All right. Listen, I lived in LA for 3 years. Okay, it can't be that bad.
Never mind. Yeah.
Bro, I mean, I guess that's true. LA is a shit pile.
My biggest fear is always just like, I know that if I get killed by some crazy Palestinians, everybody's gonna like use it for their own political bullshit. Like the idea of Hassan having some video of like, oh, I know he got killed because he was being racist there, or some Nazi using it. It's like, oh, told you Muslims were dangerous. Haha, with this woke loser just got, Ramallah 2.0. Like, yeah, man, we'll see. It should be fun.
Yeah, you're really like tempting fate there. You're gonna give your biggest political opponent an edge right there if you go out.
Listen, if he goes out, I don't think he'll care.
I'm gonna bring like I've got like 2 different white PPD girls that I'm bringing with me, one with a knife, one with a gun. And if it looks like I'm gonna be abducted at any point in time, I've instructed both of them to try to kill me, so that at least like I can go out on a meme of like some crazy girl, cutting my throat.
Yeah, I think you're at more risk for being like Johnny Somali'd out there. Like he got his ass beaten by a bunch of Israelis.
Dude, Johnny Somali disturbs the peace.
And he deserves it. Yeah, so that's different. Okay. Yeah.
Can you imagine like watching this group of people and being like, I'm on their side. I'm on the side of the pedophilic VTuber. I'm on the side of the sex criminal guy, being sued and investigated for revenge porn. I'm on the side of the cowardly motherfucker. They're going to Israel. You've got nothing to say, Mudahar, in the middle of a genocide. You got nothing to say. Imagine stooping this fucking low. And this coward said nothing. And also, he's dead afraid of the West Bank. Should be. You should be afraid because you're on colonized land where these settlers are stealing people's land with American military might backing it up. The only reason Israel exists is because American military might is there. Because our politicians are grubby, little fucking bribed, corrupt losers. The American people despise this shit. Destiny embedding with the IDF in the West Bank. These people say they're centrist, by the way. Holy shit.
Most shining examples of what city government can do. This is something that took tens of thousands of dollars off New York families' backs and made it easier to raise a family here. You know, I'm tired of hearing New Yorkers tell me that they're going to settle down, and I know that the next sentence is going to include the words Long Island or the suburbs because they just can't make it work in the 5 boroughs. Part of making it work is making it easier to have childcare. You know, today, the average cost of childcare is $25,000 a year. That's more money than it costs to send that same kid to CUNY 18 years later. Those, I think, are accomplishments. Now, it's not to say that there is no critique of that time in office. I mean, I'm somebody who was on a 15-day hunger strike alongside thousands of working-class taxi drivers fighting that same administration for debt relief. And we were able to come to an agreement where we won $450 million in debt relief for those taxi drivers. And ultimately, I say this, though, because we have seen what's possible if we have someone focused on delivering it. And to me, the greatest mayor in New York City history is Fiorello LaGuardia, because he was someone who...
Listen, I don't want Destiny to be killed because I want him to live and see his career go into shambles as more and more people are like, oh, wait, you supported Israeli genocide? I want to see more him face the consequences of his actions for his criminal revenge porn activities. You know, I want him to slowly be isolated and humiliated and watch AOC and the left win national power. I want him to see us achieve all those big, bold promises we made, the progressive promises. Watch the approval rating skyrocket. I want his ideology and everything he believes to be discredited. I want him to watch Israel's Zionist entity crumble and then see Palestinians and Jews living side by side in peace. So every single thing he ever stood for is proven definitively wrong. And he just has to live with that humiliation of our utter and total and untrammeled victory. I don't want him to be killed. I want him to live in shame, if he could even feel it, the sociopathic fucking narcissist.
Transformed our sense of the possible, and he put working people at the heart of his politics, and he did so while also confronting this rise in anti-immigrant hate all at the same time. And I think we need a mayor who has that ability to fight multiple crises at the same time and show what it means to be a New Yorker.
You said if you're elected mayor, Israel wouldn't let you in. And you mentioned some legislation, but would that legislation apply to you if you're actually mayor?
We've seen elected officials, even Congress people of this country, not be allowed into the state of Israel. And my point was, I've been asked this question many times, and I've said directly that I believe one need not visit Israel to stand up for Jewish New Yorkers. What I need to do is to meet Jewish New Yorkers at their synagogues, at their temples, at their homes, subway platforms, parks, wherever they may be.
The amount Hassan lives in his head is insane. The fact that he's talking about the prospect of his own potential death for the frame of him not being able to stand the thought of Hassan having a video of it is wild. Legitimately, the only reason Destiny is still around is out of spite and hate and jealousy of Hassan. In frustration that he was completely unable to defeat me as a content creator as well. I mean, I was a 200 viewer Andy when he decided he wanted to try to destroy my life. He completely failed. Patently obsessed with the both of us. And Hassan continues to gain more and more traction, more and more prestige, and growing larger and larger. And the same thing with all the other, everybody, like the best thing that can happen to your career if you're a good person is to be attacked by Destiny. He is the most ineffective fucking loser of all time. He can't do shit. He's so ineffective. And that's the thing that gets him the most. What gets him the most is that he's so ineffective, and his fan base are low IQ sociopaths, which is the worst kind. They are actually, you know, in violent criminals are low IQ sociopaths. And that's basically his community. They would be violent criminals if they weren't 90-pound weaklings. But that's it. And the obsession with Assad is very psychosexual. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and his obsession with me is also... I don't want to get into it because I respect the people. Like, here's the problem. Like, I know why he does what he does, and it's fucking funny. But I also don't want to like expose the people that are part of it. I don't want to like force them to like be talked about by me. So he has that kind of like, that's his advantage over me. His advantage over me is I want to leave the people alone that he is trying to like attack me with. I don't want to speak truth because I believe in privacy and discretion and respect. But I know why. It's very psychosexual with me as well. Let's just put it that way. Okay, it's very psychosexual with me as well, and because I'm leaving those people, I'm protecting them, and I'm tanking it. I'm taking the lies and shit he does to me to protect them. But that's what it's about. It's also psychosexual about me. The city pooch. Holy shit, chat. That's a 50 bomb. We are almost 3 hours into the stream, and this week alone, there is a 35% discount on subs. So the single best time to support the stream is right now. Did Destiny send you creepy DMs? It's not that, but yeah. Green Bass Guy, thank you for the 5 tier 1s. Okay, and since we talked about Destiny, like, look at this fucking loser. Look at this fucking loser talking about the protests.
Big wave, you know you're in America. It's like, yeah, dumbass, it's a diverse country. You know? Also, not much to feel proud about right here. Yeah.
Like, think about how gross that is. I keep forgetting, he was born in America, right? But his parents, or whatever, like Turkish immigrants, Turkish American people, here on the street, broadcasting to 30 or 40,000 other people worldwide watching.
80,000, you fucking cuck bitch.
People
80,000.
protesting the federal government. It's a beautiful thing. What do you mean, like, not much to be proud of here? Bro, come on, seriously?
I think, like, one of the things that low IQ Destiny, the only reason he's in this country is because our country passed the wet foot, dry foot policy for Cuban immigrants to encourage them to steal money from Cuba when our American-backed dictator was overthrown. The only reason he's in this country, this fucking Gusano bitch, is because they passed a special policy just for Cubans called wet foot, dry foot. And so if you got to dry land as a Cuban, you were given legal status. They had open borders for Cuban immigrants just to encourage as many people to steal money and resources from Cuba as possible to try to destroy the country because we were mad that our dictator got overthrown. What a fucking rat. What a disgusting rat. And these people have lived and worked in this country for decades, are being kidnapped off the streets. Families are being ripped apart, and it's shameful. You should be ashamed, you fucking cuck. Now, Destiny was born here, but his parents weren't. To look at immigrants through no fault, like your status existing only because of a special carve out for your Gusano parents, your slave owning parents, and to look down on people who are having their lives destroyed by fucking Donald Trump and shame them. Fuck you, you little rat fuck. You loser. You Trump supporting cuck bitch. I can't wait for you to be a Republican in 2 years, you fucking bitch. I told you, I said, chat, once Biden's out of the picture, because his fucking entire career was like he was the pro Biden streamer. Once Biden's out of the fucking picture, once Trump's out of the picture, and it's AOC and it's Zohran and it's the progressive populist left that's winning the Democratic Party or some other party and winning national power, this fucking cuck will be a Republican. He'll be supporting JD Vance or whoever the fuck else. Mark my fucking words, this fucking cuck loser. Although it would be very funny. It would be very funny if he had to cuck himself to AOC, which I think he's already tried to do. Like one of our first debates was me and him debating about whether AOC is, quote, economically illiterate. So he's been slowly kind of floating the self-cuck where he adopts my policies from 2019 and pretends like we're so radical that we hate AOC, right? He can't really do that because AOC is like still, you know, AOC and I are mutuals, and AOC is constantly going on Hassan's chat, on Hassan's stream. And so it's kind of hard for him to float the, oh, AOC is really with me, while also not admitting to total self-cuckitude. So he's kind of trapped in no man's land. And the thing about Destiny is he doesn't believe in anything, so there's nothing really to debate, right? He just kind of sits back and gently nitpicks like a little bitch.
Regardless of your feelings and everything, if you could take a step back and take a deep breath and just like kind of look at the macro of everything. Like we're getting on the ground footage live because of the combination of so many different American technologies and companies and everything else, and the different people that are here.
Most 4G, 5G technology is actually from China. The phone is made in China. The lithium-ion battery is Chinese. Most of the technologies are either foreign manufactured or developed with government research, you fucking cuck.
Yeah, I don't know. There's cool things about this country. Like, how many other countries could stuff like this conceivably take place in? Like, at this point, probably like, you know, hundreds of countries could have a live streamed protest against government oppression. You fucking cuck. And guess what?
bringing in the Marines. They're using violence. What are you talking about, you dumb cock bitch? You're a cock bitch.
A few Western countries, sure, but like, I feel like it's a pretty uniquely American thing. I don't know.
Protesting is uniquely American. You drop out. You fucking drop out. Read a book.
Hear their concerns and actually deliver on those concerns. And then when I have been asked about this, what I've also said is that even if I was going to make that trip, there is legislation that does not allow anyone who supports a nonviolent movement calling for the compliance of the Israeli government with international law to be allowed into that. And I say that to say that there has to be a greater recognition of what is going on. And the fact is, for me, my politics come back from a politics of the universal. I believe that freedom and justice and safety, liberty, these things have to apply to everyone for them to be meaningful. And that also includes Palestinians.
Why does it often seem like elected officials care about what's going on in other countries more than they care about what's happening here in America? Because, you do realize it's hard to think about starving kids somewhere else when your kids are starving right now.
My focus is right here in New York City. This is a question that's been asked of me time and time again. And ultimately, I think it's actually a question that, as you're saying, is not actually in line with the top concerns of New Yorkers, not even in line with the top concerns of Jewish New Yorkers. When you see in a poll, what are those top concerns? The number one is affordability. After that, it's childcare, it's elder care, it's discrimination. These are all New York City issues. And I think that we need to have a mayor who is...
By the way, chat, thank you so much for supporting the stream. We got a level 10 hype train. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate... Oh, wait, it didn't finish. We gutted it out at the last second. Remember, chat, this week and this week alone, we have discounted subscriptions, 35% off. I don't know if they're going to be discounted again. So the single best thing you could do right now is you can make sure that you have 6-month subs at the highest tier you can afford. And if you ever felt like supporting the stream, now is the single best time to do it. More bang for your buck. Because the more gifted subs we have, the more people that are subscribed here, the better things can do. Holy shit. Iris Reese, thank you for the 20 tier ones. Let's fucking go. Also remember, chat, the top sub gifter and the top bit donor get the Hype Train Conductor badge, which is a get out of jail free card in the chat. If you're a Hype Train Conductor, I definitely think of you. I'm more nice to you. If you're a tier, I'm being honest. If I see that conductor badge, it's like an immunity idol. I give you the benefit of the doubt. I assume that you're probably not a troll. So I'm just saying. Top sub gifter and the top bit donor. I'm not saying it's pay to win, but if you drop $5 on bits during a hype trade, it probably helps you out. And Tifa with this tier 3 for 6 months in advance. Let's fucking go.
Focused on New York City. And that's why when I was asked in the debate, where's your first trip abroad going to be? I said, I'm going to be here in New York City. And then I was asked, followed up, are you going to go to Israel? And I said, one need not go to Israel to stand up for Jewish New Yorkers. And then I was asked, it just continues. But for me, the focus has to be the 5 boroughs. You are running to be the mayor of this city. This is a city that is losing hundreds of thousands of people in the last few years alone because they can't afford it. They're going to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Connecticut, anywhere their dollar can go a little further. And we know that, as the saying goes, when white America catches a cold, black America catches pneumonia. That inequality is compounded for black New Yorkers. We lost 200,000 black New Yorkers in 2 decades. About 9% of the city's population of black New Yorkers. From 2010 to 2019, nearly 20% of black children and teenagers had to leave the city. And that is a crisis.
By the way, chat, one of my can I say this? This is something that I've heard from Destiny fans, and it's spread on Reddit a lot, which is the idea that, oh, Mike has 7,000 subs, but they're mostly gifted. The answer is not the case. The majority of my subs are people who pay for their own individual sub or Prime. Gifting is more like 35% of my subs, which is higher than most streamers of my size. It is true, but the majority of my subs is not gifts. It's not a couple Oilers. I have thousands and thousands of people that are subscribed to this channel who pay for their own shit. I don't know where this stupid fucking talking point came from. It must be a Destiny talking point because I have more subscriptions than he ever had. Like, I carry more subscriptions than he had at his absolute peak. So I think he's just coping. I think that's what it is. Like the idea that I have Oilers or something. I do have I have 50 to 100 people who gift subs pretty regularly on this stream. But like his all-time high is 5,617. I have more subs than he has ever had. Right now, I bait his absolute peak. I've gotten 2 gift subs from you, and I've watched you one other time than this. I don't. LOL. I'm okay with it though. Well, that's because the stream tends to give subs to people they think might become a fan. It's like a Twitch thing. Based on your profile, Twitch kind of like tries to reel people in by gifting some people that they think might be marginal viewers to help bring them in. It's one of the only smart things that Twitch does. So for some reason, they think you might enjoy my stream. I don't know why.
That has to be focused on. That would be at the heart of what my administration would do.
Yeah, I don't understand why.
Why do I not get them? Damn you, Twitch. I mean, you've gotten them before. It says you've been subbed before. Like, you've literally been subbed before. You have 23 subs, Steak Tomo. You've got 23 subs on this stream. 23 gifted subs. Like, I can see exactly how many different times you have gotten subbed. Like, I can tell who's a gifter and who's been subbed before. For example, Origin, 99 plus messages, 999 plus messages, only 1 mod action, tier 1, gifted. Been subbed for 25 months. Been following me since my Destiny debates. Been following me since I beat Destiny in debates. Based. You might be one of my first viewers. You're an old head. I may actually, like, that's almost VIP worthy.
Conversations about affordability, free healthcare, making buses free, freezing the rent on rent-stabilized apartments. Why is that considered far left?
Come on.
I'm just saying, why is it?
It's not.
It's center left. This is a really important question. Let's back this up and ask this question.
Heart of what my administration would do.
Yeah, I don't understand why conversations about affordability, free healthcare, making buses free, freezing the rent on rent-stabilized apartments. Why is that considered far left?
Come on.
I'm just saying, why is it?
It's common
but
sense.
Why can't y'all message that better? Like, why? Like, I think.
By the way, it's not far left. It's center left. It's center left. Far left is me. You don't. If I actually told you what far left is, you would be scared. You would be uncomfortable. I'm far left. Okay. None of this is far left. Far left is scary. Center left, like Zohran, is not. AOC, Zohran, Bernie are not far left. They are center left. I am far left. There is a big... Now, I like them because they create space for me to exist. Bernie Sanders and Zohran, they're going to let me continue to propagandize and push for the actual far left. When I start the American land reform movement, they are the people who are going to let me get away with it. That's why I support them. Because I've studied history. And it is social democrats and center leftists who give the far left the space they need. I don't want right wingers in because they might try to clamp down. I want people like these to be in power, so I have the space that I need. It's not that complicated. It's strategic on my part. Also, I think the working class will be stronger if they have labor unions, if they have healthcare, if they have education, if they have a good, secure base to build off of. They're going to be stronger. And when stuff gets taken away, they'll be madder and they'll know who to blame. That helps me.
You got to get rid of that word socialism. You know, my man Killer Mike used to tell Bernie Sanders to use the term compassionate capitalism. Or maybe just talk about what it is you want to do constantly instead of getting caught up in those.
I mean, I think it's both important to tell people where this belief comes from, but what I always foreground is what this belief will mean for someone. You know, people want to know, how are you going to help them in their life, in their struggle? The reason we focused this entire campaign on affordability is that's what New Yorkers told us. When you ask them, what are you struggling with? They'll tell you rent. They'll tell you childcare. They'll even tell you public transit. Because I know to many people, $2.90 doesn't feel like a lot. 1 in 5 New Yorkers cannot afford a Metro card. That's the state of inequality in this city. While income inequality has declined in the country, it's increased in New York City. This is the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. And so, to what you're saying, these are common sense policies. And also when they're polled, they even sometimes have supportive majority of Republicans because they speak to what people are actually going through.
That's it. All people want is some more money in their pocket and they want to feel safe.
Look,
that's it.
Well, if they want to support you, how can they go out and support you?
Well, what I would tell them is come to ZohranforNYC.com. Don't donate to us. We've already raised the maximum we can spend in this campaign, but do give us something more valuable, which is your time. We're building a team of 34,000 people. New Yorkers from all walks of life, knocking on doors, talking to their neighbors. Come on out, canvas. It would be a joy to have you. And I would also say that if the 3 of you want to come canvas, we'd love to have you as well.
Thank you.
Well, we residents in New Jersey. But...
Oh, come on. So look, just bring that corporate tax rate. Bring that corporate tax rate over from New Jersey.
Man, don't say that.
When's the election?
June 24th. But early voting starts June 14th. And we're confident we can win this, but only with the help of New Yorkers.
Well, good luck.
Thanj you so much.
Zohran, Kwame, Mamadani. I appreciate
Ain't
Mom
no
Donnie.
mama.
Mom Donnie.
Ain't no
Mom
mama.
Donnie.
Hit it one more time. Hit it one more time.
All right. Zohran, Kwame, Mom Donnie.
There we go.
My
Hit it one more
goodness.
time.
My goodness.
Make that poll rise.
Polls up. Let's get the polls up. There you go.
Wow.
It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Impeccable vibes, impeccable. Man, I mean, the only reason you would be against Zohran Mandami is because you are an ideological neoliberal freak. Perfect Riz, defended socialism, defended the simple, straightforward ideas. You know, how did the Bolsheviks campaign? Peace, land, bread. Freeze the rent, free buses, free childcare. 3 core promises that are focused on what people need. That is what socialists do when they are campaigning. That is how you convince people. You do not come at them with a fucking book going, I read Capital. Here's Capital Volume 1. You can't talk to me unless you do. Pretty big oof. Thank you for the 10 tier 1s. Thank you for the 10 tier 1s. We are fucking killing it. DJ Envy is a landlord who did real estate fraud. That's why he opposes Zohran's tax increases. But he sat there quietly like a bitch now, didn't he? He sat there quietly like a little bitch, didn't he? Hammond Fist, thank you for the 20 tier 1. That's what it feels like to win. Zohran, I mean, I am so vindicated. I am so fucking vindicated. I have been supporting Zohran for fucking 6 fucking years. I am so vindicated. I am so proven right. I am so thoroughly proven right. Like, my political analysis has been utterly fucking validated. Cuomo is the heart of the beast. And even if Cuomo pulls out some sort of narrow victory because of some shenanigans, Zohran went from a nobody to taking a former governor with every single major Democrat behind him, whether openly or secretly, and took them to the fucking wire. And if Zohran loses this mayor's race, he immediately launches a campaign for Congress. He immediately launches a campaign for the Senate. And he starts primarying Chuck Schumer. Who fucking knows? Like, even if he loses, we win. It doesn't even matter. We've already won.
Taking a stand for investors.
Why does, man, YouTube thinks I'm rich. Chat, YouTube thinks I'm rich because every single ad I get is for investing.
Pix 11 is your local election headquarters. New polling shows the underdog in the race for New York City mayor may now be the new leader.
The latest figures putting Zohran Mamdani ahead of former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's considered the frontrunner. Pix 11's Julie Millay is here with the latest figures that are changing, Julie.
Yeah, it could be a significant shift now 2 weeks before the Democratic primary. Good morning to both of you. This, of course, coming after Mamdani got that major endorsement from Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Mamdani had emerged as a potential frontrunner earlier in the race. Now, independent polling from Politico shows the Democratic Socialist beating frontrunner Andrew Cuomo 35% to 31%. The poll was conducted last week after the candidates faced off in their first televised debate. Mamdani is known for his focus on affordability, including proposals like free bus service and rent freezes on rent-stabilized apartments. Political analyst Trip Yang says he appears to be gaining serious ground.
What this really shows is that this is a toss-up race. Andrew Cuomo can be beaten when the emperor doesn't have the full amount of clothes to all the constellation of Democratic organizations, labor unions, activists, elected officials who don't like Andrew Cuomo. Now that they see that he can be beaten, to all of them come out.
But Andrew Cuomo's campaign says not so fast. They point to a recent poll from their campaign, which still shows him winning by 12 points. That's 56% to 44%. The Democratic primary now just 2 weeks away. Those candidates will be going head-to-head again tonight in the latest mayoral debate that's happening this evening on New York One. We'll have to see what happens after tonight's debate, Vanessa and Justin.
Jaeger Larson
Taking a stand for investors. Everyone said
this is exciting. Google is so stupid. Like, I've been a Chrome user since Chrome came out, and I'm going to get rid of Chrome. Congratulations, you're getting me to get rid of Chrome. You fucking dumbass. You worthless sack of shit. I'm gonna probably get Firefox or Brave. I don't know which yet.
Exciting. We are now just weeks away.
June 24th.
From the New York City Democratic mayoral primary. It is June, what did you say?
June 24th.
June 24th.
But early voting starts June 14th.
Yep.
So I'm going to be doing early voting because I'll be away.
Still got to wait and figure out who I'm going to.
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously everybody should be ranking Zohran first, right? Don't rank Cuomo. It's the.
Or never just rank Zohran. Just rank Zohran. Just rank Zohran. But if you can convince somebody else, here's what you do. Here's what I'm going to tell you to do, chat. Only rank other candidates in trade with somebody else promising to rank Zohran over Cuomo. So you rank Zohran and you talk to somebody who supports Brad Lander. You say, okay, I will rank Brad Lander number 2 if you rank Zohran above Cuomo. And if they say yes, you say, okay, until you get, and then you can walk around. If you meet a fucking person who supports some of the other candidates, say, listen, right now I'm ranking Lander and Cuomo. I'll rank your candidate number 3 if you can't rank Zohran above Cuomo. If you get 5 people to make that deal with you, then you can rank other people. But as far as ranking other people, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. You rank Zohran and Zohran alone. He's the only candidate worthy of victory. It actually helps Zohran in the first round to rank other people besides Cuomo. No, it does not. No, it does not. If your first choice candidate is one of the top 2 candidates, your other rankings never matter. If your first rank vote is one of the top 2 candidates, your other ranks do not matter unless they get replaced in the future by someone else. So, for example, Brad Lander started out at 3rd, but as people got eliminated, Brad Lander went above Zohran, and then eventually Zohran got eliminated. Then your other ranks matter. But if your candidate is in the top 2, then it never matters. This is how ranked choice voting works. Now, the reason why I'm saying don't rank anyone else is because I want you to go out and convince somebody else to rank Zohran over Cuomo. And by the way, chat, don't rank Cuomo is not enough. They have to rank Zohran over Cuomo. So if they don't rank Cuomo and they rank Zohran, that's good. That's actually much better. If they just don't rank Cuomo, well, then that's half a vote. We need full votes to win. If a person absolutely refuses to rank Zohran, but they also don't rank Cuomo, that's better than nothing, I guess. That just means their vote will be spoiled eventually. But the ideal thing is to just make sure everyone you know is ranking Zohran over Cuomo. And you can make promises in exchange. That's honestly what I would do. That's the only way. Like, that's how ranked choice voting actually works.
Most important thing that we can
leave
communicate.
him off. And
but
you
rank
need
all
to rank 5
yes.
slots.
Yes.
So, you need to fill all 5 slots. And you need to make sure that Cuomo is not one of those 5.
You don't have to do that. You could just rank 1. He's wrong. You could just rank Zohran if you want. You don't have to fill all 5 slots. Now, don't mark Zohran 5 times. That could fuck something up. Just rank Zohran number 1 and everybody else nothing blank. Now, if you get trades, do trades. Actually, that's a really good idea. Is there anybody that's doing that? We should set up an organization where it's like, I will rank your candidate if you rank my candidate. Is there any like trading system happening? Reciprocation, chat, is a way to get people to do things. And this is a situation of empty reciprocation because you're making a gesture like you're doing the same thing, but in fact you aren't. Because your vote will never be counted for the other person. Like, say, for example, if I vote Zohran number 1 and Brad Lander number 2, that is never counted. Nobody ever cares about that. But if somebody ranks Brad Lander number 1 and Zohran number 2, then Brad Lander will have that first choice percentage in the first rank. And then eventually when Brad Lander gets eliminated, his second choice Zohran will go to Zohran. So in effect, ranking people, again, if the person that you're ranking is the top 2 and they never slip out of that top 2 choice, then your other rankings never matter. That's actually how it works. But again, so you can make worthless trades with other people if they rank Zohran.
That is hugely important. And I gotta say, I
just can't get over the people who insist on ranking people with 0 chance over Zohran. What is the logic? That's fine because they're trying to demonstrate that they like other people, like they like another person's politics more than Zohran, which is a symbolic gesture, which I'm all right with. If you want to make symbolic gestures, that's fine. But as long as you're behind Zohran when it matters.
Hey, like, I am shocked at how close this
in New York, if you fill all 5 slots, your #1 pick has more staying power. Blank spots make it easier for Cuomo to stay in the running. I don't think people understand how ranked choice voting works. I really don't think people understand how ranked choice voting works. I don't think they understand how it works. You get 1 vote. You get 1 vote. When you have more than 1 ranking, your vote can stay alive. All right. So if you vote for someone who's in the top 2 as your first choice, technically, as long as you vote for someone who's not at the bottom, then your vote is still counted. The moment that your candidate is eliminated, they go to the next choice and see if that candidate's still there. If that candidate has already been eliminated, they go to the next choice. If that candidate has already been eliminated, they go to the next choice. If that candidate has been eliminated, they go to the next choice. It's only... So that's how it works. You only have 1 vote. The vote moves around. You don't have 5 votes. Okay, you have 1 vote. So if you are voting for Zohran, your vote counts. If you all the other things don't matter until Zohran's gone. That's how it fucking works. That's how it works.
races. Because 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was like, I don't know, it doesn't look good. And now, it's crazy. It is this close, a month out. And let's be clear, Andrew Cuomo has access to a lot of money. But when you're talking about a primary, getting people to come out and vote is much harder when you are putting money up against an army of volunteers. And
this is like a historic volunteer door knocking operation. I remember I have not been this excited about a campaign since AOC and the operation behind it. I really mean that. And they're using a very similar playbook that had her have success, where they are trying to drive turnout from people who don't typically go to a primary via a door knocking face-to-face interactive operation, and the distance between these two candidates is less than what polling said prior to the AOC race with Crowley.
And let's be clear, this is he cut an ad here based upon this Emerson polling that came out yesterday, and it was on, I've never seen this description, very likely voters, which means that these are consistent Democratic primary voters. And the idea that it's in single digits between them for very likely voters, it is the idea that Cuomo is going to be able to mobilize people who don't usually come out in a Democratic primary is highly unlikely.
Yep.
Because Cuomo is running on his name recognition. And that's what's driving his votes. Cuomo does not have a natural constituency of people who are super excited about him. He is running based upon his name recognition. And the idea that on very likely voters coming out, Mamdani is going to get people who are not very likely voters to come out in much greater numbers, I got to believe, than Cuomo. Because, again, he's targeting these voters that don't normally come out for these things.
And Cuomo also, his strategy is, you can see, Zohran benefits from a full ballot. That's the strategy that, like, all 5 slots filled out that aren't Cuomo. Cuomo is relying on people only ranking him, right? These are high propensity voters that are more just like traditional Democrats that see the name.
They're not high propensity voters. Cuomo is not doing well with high propensity voters. That's incorrect. He's doing well with lower propensity voters. That's why Cuomo is doing well. It's because it's with elderly people that are not very connected to political discourse. And because he had high name recognition because he was the governor, they know who he is. So those are the people that he's winning. Low engagement, low propensity, more elderly voters. Now, that group tends to vote more than young people do. However, Zohran is killing it with the highest propensity cohort. I actually think Zohran is going to win by a lot. I actually don't think it's going to be that close. In fact, I think he's going to win by a lot because a lot of the people that Cuomo gets his support from are not going to show up. They're low propensity, and they're not going to show up it's going to be like AOC. AOC, like, there was a poll done of AOC's race a couple weeks before, and she was down by like 20 or something. But then she ended up winning by a pretty comfortable margin because it's a low turnout primary. and the people that supported her were high propensity voters. So these like New York primaries are always pretty low turnout, which actually gives the left in New York an advantage because they can organize the higher propensity like activists to show up, and kind of if they mobilize a percentage of like the disaffected, they can actually punch above their weight. I think Zohan's going to win. Now, the mayor's race tends to be a higher turnout primary than other primaries because it's such an important race and it gets talked about a lot. But I think he's going to win. And it is what it is. If he loses, it'll be very tight. So the two, I don't think he's going to win a narrow thing, but it is what it is. We'll see. I mean, I have to dive into more of the polling data to really firm it up, but I think it's not going to be close. I actually should write something on this or make a TikTok or something.
And don't think about it too much. But that's why it's important that we encourage people to rank all 5 slots. So
here is Zohran's at.
Wait, one sec.
Good morning, New York City. I know getting back on your feet after a long holiday weekend is tough, but here's some news that'll put some pep in your step. Like all campaigns, we hired a research firm to poll New Yorkers. What they just found? It's very exciting. Let's start with the headlines. We're now at 27% in the first round of ranked choice voting, firmly in second place behind Andrew Cuomo, with the next campaign in single digits. And in the final round, after every other candidate's been eliminated, it's us at 44% and Cuomo at 56%. That's a 12-point gap. In March, it was 40 points. And we've gotten here while a third of New Yorkers still haven't heard of us. That means we're nowhere near our ceiling. That's where you come in. Yes, we're going to have more rallies, more TV ads, more videos like this, and that's all thanks to your contributions. Just this past weekend, our volunteers passed 600,000 doors knocked. No one else is even in the same galaxy, let alone the same neighborhoods. With less than a month to go, we're going to win a city that New Yorkers can actually afford and send Andrew Cuomo back to the suburbs.
I love that. Do we have the video of Cuomo driving out of that parking garage? And, well, I don't know. It's not necessary.
I've seen a few of those.
But Zohran's been...
Yeah, this just dropped this yesterday evening. Mandami surges a new poll leading Cuomo for first time in New York's mayor's race. The survey conducted by Public Policy Polling for Democrat Justin Brandon's city comptroller campaign found Mandami beating Cuomo 35-31, a difference that is narrowly within the 4.1 margin of error. The poll of 573 likely Democratic voters was conducted between June 6th and June 7th. 39% of the poll's responses came from landlines and 61% from text messages, a methodology that favored Mandami given his strength with those responding via text, according to the results. A separate survey by Data for Progress for a Mandami-aligned super PAC found Cuomo winning by 2 points, also after 8 rounds. And Expedition Strategies on the governor leading Mandami by 56-44. It's telling that the only polls showing this trend line are paid for by Zohran Mandami Inc. It's not lost on us that Politico is the only NYC media outlet that continues to take these outlier polls. Support for Mandami was strongest among white and Asian voters, while 27% of black voters surveyed supported him, as nearly 1/3 of Hispanic voters, an indication he's gaining multiracial support among New Yorkers. Cuomo's lead with black voters remains particularly durable at 42%. And this is a question and an issue that we really need to talk about, which is, why are elderly black voters so supportive of centrist Democrats? And the answer is centrist Democrats have deep roots connecting with the organizations that represent elderly black people. They show up at the churches. They show up at the Souls for the Polls. They hand out walking around money to members of that community. Like it's a patronage network that is very firmly rooted in the city government machine. And so in order to penetrate that, you have to go into places are already well fortified against you.
Like taking the bus, riding his bike around, and he's been going to every Knicks MSG game and interviewing people outside, right? Especially when the Knicks have a good outcome in the game, and it's really fun to see.
Great game last night.
But like, yeah, I'm so nervous. I'm back. I'm emotionally invested. It's very difficult. But he there's this juxtaposition of Cuomo getting asked questions in his car and driving out and not rolling it down because he's driving back to the suburbs. It doesn't seem like he even lives in New York City, basically, is what most of the reporting is.
I've done about half a dozen door knocking shifts for Zohran in Queens, where I live. And one of the super interesting things, I mean, first of all, like strategically, you're talking about the same group of people that did AOC's first campaign. They did Claire Valdez's campaign this last summer, and almost everyone I talk to, like when you knock on a door, sometimes the people aren't home, but when they are, usually they've heard of Zohran, but we're not aware that there's an election, like not aware that there's a primary, but are aware of Zohran. And I think to Sam's point about like likely voters and unlikely voters, those are unlikely voters that they're targeting with the door knocking, and the registered Democrats. So you're knocking on their door knowing that they are registered Democrats, and a lot of them are not. Now, I'm sure after all this door knocking, they're going to be aware that there's an election, and they definitely know who Zohran is.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
He's been doing a lot of freeze the rent stuff too, if we want to show a little bit of that, which, by the way, Bill de Blasio did too. So here's this.
As the state assembly member representing Astoria and Long Island City, I have had an 82-year-old woman come into my office and tell me that her rent is now double that of her Social Security check, and that her landlord has now filed for eviction. And my office took every step we could. We spent 3 months, and finally, through HRA, we got her the support she needed. We kept her in her home. But we deserve a mayor who will do that for every single New Yorker, who will fight to keep every single New Yorker in their home. Because too often in this city, in our politics, the only exodus that politicians are worried about are that of the wealthy when we finally tax them what they should pay. But the real exodus is already happening. It's working and middle-class New Yorkers who are being pushed out of this city because it's the most expensive one in the country. And so I'm going to ask you one more time. We're running to freeze the, to freeze the, to freeze the, to freeze the. You have my commitment, you have my word, and together on June 24th, we're going to win this race so that next year we freeze the rent.
It's pretty exciting. Again, there's over 3 more weeks, 2 weeks until early voting begins.
Shucks, I wish a couple more endorsements would come in any day, one of these days.
Come on, AOC and Bernie, it's ridiculous.
It would be just insane if they don't come out with this before early voting.
Could have just done it early and gotten it over with, but we wanted to hope Brad Lander was going to get to 25% for some reason.
I would imagine. I mean, I'm less understandable as to why Bernie, but I presume Bernie's holding off to protect AOC, right? Like if he came out and endorsed.
Look, good luck on all the oligarchy stuff. That's all great. But the thing AOC said about on this show about being some sort of vessel between the movement and the Democratic Party, I just don't see evidence that she serves that role.
I don't think they want her to do that. They don't like her. They tolerate her because they can't beat her. And the problem with AOC is that she doesn't understand that. The moment she had a weakness, the moment she had a scandal, and the Democratic Party thought they could dig her out of the Bronx, they would. Okay? She's only there because of her strength. And she acts weak. And that is what's wrong with AOC. She needs someone, and I hope Zohran could be an advantage for her and be an example for her to show some fucking strength for a change.
I think like people like Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib play that role better. But if she runs for Senate, I'd vote for her.
Did the chat break? Did chat break? Is the website fucked? Am I down? Am I effing? What the fuck? Is chat broken? Is this website broken? Oh my! I feel so naked without you, chat. Hold on.
We'll see what happens.
They could hold a rally and bring Brad Landers and Zohran out together.
Oh yeah, bring the guy with 11%.
If that's what this is about, I mean, I don't know what else it's about.
Well,
it's about some sort of.
Well, I got to imagine. I mean, I would imagine that it is primarily, if I had to speculate, she's afraid of Cuomo winning and of hurting her chances in a statewide race because of his infrastructure. That would be.
But this is where
that would be my.
I'm sure that's what it is. But this is the thing. She has transcended the ability for a guy like Cuomo to really screw her in this situation. We see the numbers. She could not have his support at all and destroy Chuck Schumer in a primary.
I'm not saying it's justified, and I would imagine that there's probably she is lending infrastructure and doing stuff like that for the campaign, but. My guess is that unless they have some type of strategy that, a week out before the election, which is,
it's possible.
It's possible because, let's put it this way. If he needed her endorsement 2 months ago, he's not going anywhere. Her endorsement and Bernie's endorsement is going to have the most value over the next.
So, chat, I don't know if you're aware, but my chat is completely broken for some reason. Other people's chats are fine, but mine is broken. Only mine. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Am I banned? What the fuck? Am I banned? Did I get banned? No, I'm not. What the fuck? I'm completely broken. What the hell? Okay, well, what the fuck is happening? All right, let's watch this video. Let's finish this video while I try to figure it out. What the fuck?
It's 2 weeks. Telling people, like Russ said, that there's an election. Because if I tell you that there's an election and I use my biggest, they have 2 assets, right? Both of them as politicians, but specifically AOC. There's 2 assets that she has. One is any type of campaign infrastructure. And my presumption is, I don't know this for a fact, my presumption is that to the extent that she can give that apparatus, whether it's email lists or whatever it is, or campaign strategist or, staff or whatever, she's lent that out. Then the other asset is the media splash that you get, right? And if the strategy is to drive people out who don't normally vote in primaries, do you want that? It's basically a one-off, right? On some level, there's only so much campaigning she's going to be able to do in New York City. Just in terms of literal time. Do you want that to happen in March, or do you want that to happen June 10th?
I agree. I am just getting nervous.
Oh, I agree with you. I'm not, I in no way do I think it's a fait accompli that she's going to do it in June 10th. I'm just saying that we'll find out, because obviously if it doesn't happen, it's
horrible.
It's horrible.
And I would be way harder on her than Bernie in this instance, because this is her city. Bernie Sanders is a national figure, but this is her city.
And I would imagine that Bernie would be doing it in some way because it provides protection from her not doing it.
Right.
She's gonna represent New York to a hostile governor, whether she endorses Zohran or not. Right. Cuomo is gonna come down on her, and he already is. If you listen to what he's saying,
of course,
he names her.
What do you mean, governor?
Sorry, mayor.
Oh, mayor.
If she stays out and
yes, right.
Be nice to me.
Right. But it is interesting that Hochul has kind of distanced herself from Cuomo too. I wish there could be some coordination to defeat this dude, but everyone's afraid of him because he's so vindictive.
Yeah.
But honestly, she dealt with this with Crowley, right? He was also a completely vindictive politician, and so she should probably support Zohran Mamdani, who's facing down a very similar machine, but
we'll see.
More powerful, in fact.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.
What the fuck? Twitch is broken. What the fuck is going on? Okay, chat, you're not here. Somehow VO is in the protected class. Everybody open VO's stream so we could chat in VO's stream. If you open VO's stream, her chat is still working, I think. Oh no. Oh, wait, I can't chat at VO's stream either. So it's only the people. For some reason, VO has been selected as the protected channel, and only the VO chatters are still in the internet. Like somehow in Twitch, they have put VO at the hardest core of the hardcore of Twitch's deep servers. And so she is protected no matter what else fails. And it also appears that Gremlo and Sean the Black are the same. Only I am hated. Only I am despised and set to the nether regions.
Taking a stand for investors. Everyone says it.
Okay, chat,
Vanguard
listen, I don't want to end stream early, but what the fuck?
does it. Announcing Vanguard.
This luminary here, Dave Portnoy, has some thoughts about what he hopes happens, what he hoped would happen.
Discord, we can use Discord for chat. Identified web issues. Login web. Twitch is always live, except for when it's not. Oh no. That is a cute animation though. Purchases, degraded performance. Get on it. Get on it. Aegis. People can't give me money. It's a crisis. Get to work. All right, hold on. I'm gonna read the chat in the Discord chat. Thank you, Aegis, for the update. The real one. Come over here, Mikey. I hate the Twitch app so much. Chat, if you're still able to, Discord/Mike from PA, I think. You should be able to get into that. Join the Discord server if you already haven't. Hi, chat. I'm in here. Let's get the chat rolling. Get in the Discord. Get in the Discord. Oh my God. Okay, chat. Hold on. Are you able to pop out a specific chat? Can you do that? Maybe you can't. Too much of a boomer. Okay. Well, here's how ranked choice voting works.
Hey, NYC voters. There's a new way to vote for your city officials in 2021. The City of New York will use the ranked choice voting method for all NYC primaries and special elections for mayor, public advocate, comptroller, borough president, and city council. Ranked choice voting gives New York voters more choice than ever before. Rather than choosing just one candidate, now you have the option to rank up to 5 of your favorite candidates. Here's how it works. Mark your ballot by order of preference, ranking as many or as few candidates as you like. In the first column, fill in the oval next to your first choice candidate, your second choice in the second column, followed by your third, fourth, and fifth choice. At the close of Election Day, all first choice votes are counted. The candidate to receive over 50% of votes wins. If no candidate receives over 50% of the first choice votes, the race moves to round 2. The person with the least number of votes is eliminated. If your first choice candidate does not win and they're eliminated, we then count your second choice vote and add it to the candidate's total. This process continues until we have a winner. Go to vote.nyc to learn more about NYC ranked choice voting and
the whole site is gone. Yeah, definitely do not refresh. Do not refresh. I couldn't get to myself. Boomer can't understand how to read fast chat.
We're all crying in the chat, but it's fine. So the thing I wanted to talk, I guess, about.
How do you read your chat? Doesn't it go so fast?
Well, right now it's not even going fast, but now that you mentioned it, it's going to go a lot faster. Yeah.
How do you read it so quick? How do you read that?
I just got used to it, I think. I got used to it. It gets worse on right now. We're at 6,000 viewers. On like
saying boomer to me. I can see that.
Yeah,
because everybody.
So that's not. So you can't even see. They're actually using emotes. So if you look at my screen, you'll see what like it actually looks like on my screen. Most of the words here. Just take a look at my screen if you have it open right now. Most of the words that you see right now are a third-party program that like enables emotes. So they're actually writing code basically that turns into images.
All right. So what is that like ghosts? All right. What?
No. That's a meme. That's a meme. And we don't have a lot of time, so we're all crying in the chat, but it's fine.
Remember when 6,000 viewers for Hasan was a lot? Do you guys remember when 6,000 viewers was a lot for Hasan? And now I'm 6,000 viewers. Isn't that crazy? When I started this stream, I remember somebody was like, when are you going to be a 1,000 viewer Andy? I can't wait for you to be a 1,000 viewer Andy. And I thought at the time, I was like, damn, that's so crazy. That's such a high goal. It's at 3.9K people are leaving. No, it's just if eventually Twitch tries to refresh your connection and then it fails. So people are slowly being bled out as Twitch tries to refresh your connection. So it isn't people leaving, it is people not being able to come back in. If you can see me right now, enjoy it while it lasts. I can't even raid. I can't even raid because Twitch chat is so broken. The direct link works. You think so? Broken right here. And like, I'm logged in, so I'm not banned. And it would say this channel was banned for violating the terms of service if I was banned. I'm not banned, but the shit is broken. Mike has to stream all day. I can't. It's fucking broken. I mean, I'll hang around for a little while, but what can I say? It's fucking broken and people are getting kicked out and it sucks. All I can say though is we can watch content that you would never normally watch and I can say, oh, it's because Twitch was broken.
This is time relatively alone to build up their force. As Mao Zedong's armies continue their rapid sweep across China, Chiang Kai-shek's regime collapses. One city, one army, one illusion at a time. With Shanghai, Beijing, and Nanjing all under threat, the economy in free fall, and the Americans turning away, Chiang plans to abandon the mainland. His last hope now lies across the sea, on a small island where he plans to make his final stand.
Like whenever you feel depressed, you could just watch shit like this and laugh and laugh.
Idel, welcome to episode 4 of the Chinese Civil War, part of our series War to War, where we follow the wars that wouldn't end within a Cold World War, the beginning of the digital age, the atomic age, and the space age, when we began to replicate our minds electronically, gained the power to end our very existence as a species, and discovered that we truly can reach for the stars. Okay, last time, the communists crushed the nationalists in both Manchuria and in East and Central China, eliminating about 1 million nationalist troops. Meanwhile, Chiang's attempt to curb hyperinflation only deepened public anger towards his regime. Now Mao's forces stand on the precipice of another major victory, Beijing. Before I start, though, I will have to roll the clock back just a few months because there's a lot that happened I didn't have time to cover last time. Okay, it's late November 1948. Lin Biao's armies prepare to advance south from newly captured Manchuria, across the Great Wall, heading for Beijing.
One of the finest generals in history.
Could perhaps have skipped the city for now. I mean, it's largely isolated already, with nationalists holding only a thin railway corridor surrounded by communist territory. But there are two big reasons.
Are we back? Are we saved? Are we saved? Is chat back? We did it! My guess is somebody at Twitch headquarters like dumped a fucking soda on a server and exploded it. We're back! You can give me money again! Yeah, we're fucking back! Let's go!
Reasons to strike. First, seizing Beijing and Tianjin will prevent the nationalists from reinforcing Jiangsu, where the PLA is currently engaged in the Huaihai campaign. The PLA, the People's Liberation Army, is the military arm of Mao's.
Hassan Piker sees it all. Another pro-Hassan take! Destiny, guys! Destiny! Destiny! Alert! 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 Guys, we gotta brigade the comments! We gotta brigade the comments! H3! H3! We gotta brigade! We gotta brigade! My favorite thing about Destiny is knowing that in his every waking moment, he's non-stop thinking about Hassan and talking about Hassan and just occupied with an obsession. And it's also Dan Saltzman. And they're just so ineffective. They failed completely. They're fucking losers. Ugh. Okay, we gotta go to the Destiny subreddit. We gotta go to Destiny subreddit. Hold on. Hold on. There definitely has to be. There definitely has to be more malding happening. Hold on. Okay, maybe I need to do top or whatever. Hold on. I'm so fed up with the pro-Palestine crowd. We're winning. Why are you fed up? Are you fed up because you're tired of losing? What is this? Please let it rain on his parade. I don't even want to. Dan reminds Hassan to do his paperwork. Remember Hassan being detained for 99 hours over his political beliefs? Well, months earlier, his card was revoked and he just didn't read the email. Why'd they revoke it? Dan, you dumb fuck. Like, Dan, imagine your life is about somebody else's global entry. LSF died out. Destiny actually has killed LSF. LSF's like engagement is 0 now. Other streamers used to go into LSF and talk about it. It's fucking, they killed it. It's just Destiny subreddit again. It's a dead subreddit. Congratulations, you killed it off because nobody likes you guys. And they still can't even mention Destiny without all the replies being like, this sex criminal? Pathetic. Pathetic. I have a story of what happened to LSF if you want to look at it. Oh God, I don't care. They are banned all the people calling out D on LSF. They're all blatant. Oh, really? Well, that's why it's also dead. It's also dead as fuck. It's like one of those things where they took LSF and it used to be a place of like influence on the streams and no one cares anymore. Now it's all about TikTok, which is overwhelmingly pro Hasan. So they managed to get rid of Reddit from the Twitch streamer like culture, and now it's all TikTok shit. The fucking Destiny losers are still on Reddit with the other 45-year-olds. I got banned for 30 days for saying sex pestity. Why? They would never ban someone for like shit talking me. That's weird. Okay, can we look at TYT and how much of an embarrassment it is now? Look at these fucking losers.
It's totally wrong to target random cops who might have done absolutely nothing wrong and take your anger out at them through a violent act, like throwing a brick at their head. Like, it's unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. And look, you guys need to know like my more broad view on what's happening with the riots in LA. I look back at the way I covered the riots in the summer of 2020 and onward, and I was a coward, totally cowardly. I will admit that. I totally engaged in the mostly peaceful protests narrative, even though I knew that wasn't the case.
What?
And it was because I was terrified. I was terrified of...
She's such a fucking loser! You're such a fucking loser! Anna Kasparian and TYT! You're a fucking joke! You're a fucking joke! Imagine getting on the Trump train right now, right when it's falling off. This is buying high. And right in the middle, this is buying in the middle of a falling knife. You fucking loser.
Dealing with the backlash that I now very clearly am.
Great screenshot, or great, freeze frame. Obviously, Zach and I, we were at the KC George Floyd protest. Got insanely intense, more so than any protest I've ever been to. But that was just in KC, right? It was probably times 100 in a city like New York and LA. Obviously, I can't speak to the situation on the ground at every single city, and obviously there are actions done by protesters that I wouldn't, recommend necessarily. But at least from Kansas City, I specifically remember the protest being 100% peaceful, a total celebration.
Black Lives Matter was like overwhelmingly peaceful, and the few examples of like riots and violence were usually initiated by the cops trying to beat anti-police brutality protesters and initiating riots and being aggressive. And in the most notorious examples, specifically in, I think, both the Wendy's and the precinct fire, were both instigated by right-wingers. The most notorious pieces of damage of the entire 2020 were right-wingers. Like, it's actually crazy how much this is bullshit.
Of love and people coming together to stand up for and remember the life of George Floyd and the other victims of police brutality, until the cops showed up and started fucking harassing people and started fucking antagonizing people and started fucking spraying children in the face with chemical weapons. Then the crowd got a little bit pissed off, and I think a couple water bottles got thrown at these fucking dirty pigs, right? Again, a child was pepper sprayed in the fucking face for doing nothing wrong. A photo went viral of a man unarmed holding up a sign and a cop tasing or pepper spraying him right in the fucking face, point blank. That went viral on the KC subreddit. And again, I'm talking about Kansas City, not LA, not New York.
That was in Kansas? I remember that video.
We were at that exact rally when it happened with those dirty fuckheads. And it's exactly right what Gavin said. It's the Plaza Fountain. It's where every major protest in Kansas City happens, right? And this is a microcosm, right? We're speaking from our personal experience because it was a hella radicalizing moment for me and Gavin. But the scale of that is what we're talking about. When they say violent protesters, they're talking about kids throwing water bottles at the police and being met with all kinds of pepper spray, right? My sister was at the Minneapolis protest every single fucking day during George Floyd. And I remember hearing from her. She was out in front of all of the main shit. And my sister is not like a fucking like hardcore, like fucking, lady. She's the chief of staff for the city council president of Boston. Okay. But she was out there with all these other people because it was an issue that all Midwesterners felt deeply passionate about, the fact that it had impacted Minneapolis so hard, a largely white city, though with a black population that's often underrepresented. It touched everybody. These are people who we would look at and kind of profile as liberal. You know what I mean? It's crazy to rewrite history and act like it was a bunch of violent mobs all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, in my own LA experience, like I was at some pretty crazy moments. Like I think one of the days where it really popped off, we were marching down a street and the cops like left a police vehicle with all the doors open in the middle of the street, right in the path of the protest. Like, just come get it, boys. Like, the cops use these protests as a way to get new cars. Like, they just like are like, oh, I want to get the 2024 model. So
no, well, they use it. Yes, they have honey traps. It's entrapment. Like, they know what they're doing, so they can get pictures and go, look, a car is on fire. Which you create a fucking narrative of like an assault or something, but in reality, the car was abandoned in front of people, so they have an outlet for their anger, so that you could then take pictures later and go, look at how much they're destroying it. So people like look at a burning car and they project that over the whole city, when in reality, it's not happening. It's just a bait car. Kristi Noem just had Senator Padilla dragged out of her press conference. Do you have a link to that?
You know, let's just have them break up the old ones. There was a video yesterday of like cops beating up, self-harming their own vehicles because they were so depressed, I guess. Did you guys see that one?
No,
I didn't see that one.
There's a video of them all bashing in their own fucking car.
Oh, no, I saw the video of the guys on the horses that were all beating one guy senseless on the street.
Yeah, that was sad because you could see the horse still trying to not step on the guy because the horse is like more of a fucking human than the LAPD. Like, we should just turn the LAPD into horses. Like, if we deputized like every horse from the racetrack, and like it would be a much safer city. And what like Anna like probably knows or maybe doesn't know, if she just goes between like, I don't know, the fucking Erewhon and the AC studio that she's shooting out of. I don't know where the fuck this is. If this is in like West LA or whatever the fuck, but LA, like the most dangerous fucking organized criminal gang in Los Angeles is the LAPD, and it's well documented. There are multiple white supremacist slash like Latino white supremacist gangs within the LAPD. They have tat parties where after they kill someone, they go and they fucking party and they get a tat, like a notch on their fucking arms. These guys are way more dangerous than the fucking Crips, the Bloods, any of the fucking Mexican gangs here. Those guys are without a doubt the biggest murderers on the fucking street, and most of them don't even live here. Like, they all live out in the fucking valley or fucking Riverside or whatever. They come in like fucking cowboys and they fucking kill people.
That's exactly what happens in Kansas City. They all fucking flee to the Northland. But anyway,
yeah,
they handcuffed him on the ground.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
How many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty? How they have been targeted?
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
How many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty? How they have been targeted?
First of all, I want to congratulate him for doing that. I think it was totally the right thing to do, and he didn't allow himself to be pushed around. They had to get a bunch of goons to grab him. I think he did absolutely the right thing. I think that he did I appreciate that. I think that was a Chad fucking move. Period. Second thing I would think is, if that's me, if I'm him, I have a grudge for every single person for the rest of my life who was involved with this. I am getting a file on every single motherfucker who did that, and I'm doing everything I can for the rest of my life to fuck their world up. That's me. I'm a vindictive person. So I would, if I was a senator, be fucking those people up for the rest of time. That's just me. Look at these. TYT is such a fucking joke. What a fucking joke. Have you guys unsubscribed from TYT? Let's all do it. Let's do an unsubscribe check together. Let's get some of our aggression out Let's make sure we're not subscribed to any TYT
Every day,
channel.
the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based.
Okay, let's make sure we're not subscribed to any of their shit. Ew. Ew. Not subscribed to anything. All right, good. Fucking rats. What pathetic fucking losers, dude. And look how they built their career. Noam Chomsky, Francesca, Chuck Roca. These are all left-wingers. What a fucking group of pathetic. 50 watching?
Hey, 50? Are you single? I'm a matchmaker. 6'2", doctor, lawyer.
That's all it takes to be soulmates. Dance with me.
Marriage is a business deal.
What is this? Jesus Christ. I am fucking cooked. They have unskippable ads on, too. They have the worst ad settings you could have. Dead as fuck channel. Dead as fuck channel.
William Joseph Odo III, 52 years of age.
57 viewers.
Was arrested on June 2nd.
Dead. Comments off, 50 viewers. Fucking dead.
Open to accepting, because I've been dealing with it from like the from the rad libs.
How many times are you going to send me this? How many times? How many times? He worked with El Diablito. Yeah, of course. Wow, a right-wing government is making deals with fascists. What a surprise. What a fucking surprise. Did you see the letter from PSL? Can you link it to me? That Josh Hawley letter? It does make me kind of sad to see TYT go down. I used to feel that way at first, but now it makes me happy. Now it makes me happy. If you're this much of a piece of shit, if you're this close to any kind of like friendship or anybody criticizing you, you are not trustworthy. You should not have a position of authority. You should not be controlling the discourse for the left. If you cannot change your mind, if you can never apologize, if you can never, take criticism, I don't want you to have influence. That means you are a top-down type mentality. You're no different than the Democrats. Like, you're no different than Chuck Schumer if you can't see that what you're doing is in opposition to your stated values, and all your friends and all your supporters come forward and tell you, hey, please stop. And you say fuck you to them, and you treat them like an enemy, and you run and you go collaborate with fucking right-wing fascists. Pathetic. I want you to be destroyed at that point. Like, they could have raised their hands and been like, listen, we just disagree on this one issue, and then talked about other shit. But they act so entitled. They act so entitled, like, oh, you should just listen to us because it's us. And fuck you if you disagree. They are so entitled on top of it. It's crazy. Like, if every single one of my friends and every single one of the people I like was telling me I was wrong, it would stop me. It would make me reconsider. And there might be things that I nonetheless continue to support out of principle. But what are they doing? Being pro-Trump, being pro-Charlie Kirk, being pro like anti-trans cockamamie bullshit. They're not standing on their values. They're standing on their opportunism. And everybody sniffed it out and they called it out. And they're reaping the whirlwind they deserve to reap. I don't feel bad for the people in the front. Now, I feel bad for people that put a career into building TYT and were lied to. United States Senate, Party for Socialism and Liberation, San Francisco, California. This is not even an address. This isn't even sent to anybody. It's just some random letter. This is fucking nothing. I write in my capacity as the chair of the Senate Subcommittee on Crime and Counterterrorism regarding your organization's alleged role in financing and materially supporting the coordinated protests and riots that have engulfed Los Angeles in recent weeks. It's called a First Amendment, bitch. Eat my dick, you fucking loser. While peaceful protest is a cornerstone of American democracy, these demonstrations have escalated into lawless mob actions. Suck my dick, you January 6th supporting coward. This motherfucker should be in a federal penitentiary right fucking now. And it's Joe Biden, the fucking cuck, that didn't do anything to go after these right-wing losers because he's a fucking bitch. You know what Lula's doing to Bolsonaro? Bolsonaro's facing a 30-year prison term right now. You fucking cuck loser Democrats! They have obstructed federal law enforcement, endangered public safety, and disrupted the rule of law. Oh, now you care about the rule of law? You said that nobody has the right to the rule of law, you fucking bitch! Credible reporting now suggests your organization has provided logistical support and financial resources to individuals engaged in these disruptive actions. Let me be clear. Bankrolling civil unrest is not protected speech. It is aiding and abetting criminal conduct. Accordingly, you must immediately cease and desist any further involvement in the organization, funding, or promotion of these unlawful activities. Suck my dick. Suck my entire fucking dick. Suck my asshole from the back.
Put it that way, for like the last 2-3 years. But at the time, I was too afraid to deal with the backlash. I didn't want to be smeared as some sort of racist for acknowledging that rioting was taking place. This time around, I'm not going to do that because I felt terrible that I wasn't doing my job. I let my audience down. Even if the audience doesn't want to hear it, I don't care. Like, respecting your audience means you tell them the truth. They can do with that information what they please. If they decide they hate me for...
So she didn't tell the truth? She's just admitting that sometimes she lies when she knows that, like, she's...
That's the old
lying?
her, Griffin. She's trying to be
the old her.
Oh gosh, why do you always try and slam women when they come out here and try and share their experiences, you monster?
Also,
Is she... Yeah.
She's done this a million times, but she likes to pretend like her coverage from 5 years ago was like this just shrieking caricature of a SJW. It's not even the case. Like, she's not being charitable enough to her own coverage and that of Jake. I remember from that time period when they talked about the rally or the protests, and they did acknowledge that there was violence going on. They did acknowledge that there was some riots and lootings, and I'm pretty sure they condemned the lootings, the people that just come in to like take advantage of the destruction and rob a fucking store. Not that I give a shit about the store, but those people aren't necessarily part of the same actual protest movement. They didn't deny that. They didn't fucking deny that. What they did do is what I was just talking about, acknowledging that most of the violence that occurred at the protest was in response to violence initiated by the police. That's the reality of the situation. But if you watch TYT from that time period, they actually weren't just like, no violence to see, it's all peaceful. That's stupid.
Right. Okay. So if Anna needs to she needs to do some sort of reparations for her past lies and coverage. And I think she needs to immediately issue an apology to Kyle Rittenhouse, maybe do a hookah sesh. I don't know. Like, they should start a podcast. I'd love to see Kyle Rittenhouse on Her Take. I think that would be a great guest. And we need to get into the drugs in George Floyd's bloodstream. Like, we got to get into it all. Like, you can't just say, sorry, I lied. You have to do some real reparations here.
Honestly, I'm always saying that, Griffin.
Reporting accurate information. It is what it is. But I have to respect the audience enough to give them accurate information. So if riots are happening, I'm not going to provide cover for them and say, no, mostly peaceful protests. What we're seeing on the streets of LA right now, especially last night, and it's escalating, not peaceful. Okay, it's just...
Yeah, the cops are fucking shooting people, dummy. That's not peaceful. It's the cops that are fucking shooting people in broad daylight, regular ass harmless individuals. We've seen it time and time again. What instance of bricks to the heads of police have you seen?
I've seen a few, and they're like dropping bricks and on police cars. But even more impressive, I'm seeing people drop lime scooters on cop cars, which I think is an incredible showcasing of upper body strength for LA liberals. I mean, they fucking got us.
My personal feeling about this is barricades have always been part of protests. Now, because we're on Twitch, I am not an advocate of property damage, right? I can't advocate any kind of illegal behavior, but I can observe that barricades, including ripping up cobblestones, older than time itself. Like, people fucking hyperventilating over this shit. It's what has always happened. It's always has happened. And Donald Trump and his goons have demonstrated that they do not listen to peaceful protest and argument. They don't care. So resistance happens. If you want to have peaceful streets, you need to have the presence of justice. Collecting dog poop to throw at ICE. Oh no. That, technically, chat, would be a battery, because that would be harmful or offensive touching, which is against the law. You're not allowed to do that. If you throw poop at someone, that is actually illegal. Are you aware of that?
Smoothie, and they lifted a lime scooter above their head. Like, that's unbelievable.
But that's still just property damage. There's no violence there. You know what I mean? We're not seeing people actively, fighting cops in the street. The clip that went viral recently of somebody fighting cops was in like Fargo, North Dakota or some shit like that.
But also, like, okay, let's say there is like some level of like violence. It is not it is not happening out of the evils of people's hearts or randomly in a vacuum. It's happening because violence is happening to them first. We are doing what is not violent about breaking into a first grade elementary class and pulling children out? What is not violent about like leaving children on the side of the highway and taking their pregnant mom into custody? What's not violent about fucking masked thugs that don't ID themselves black bagging people into vans? It is the most bitch-made, violent, anti-American thing I've ever seen. So if you want the violence to stop, well, let's find the fucking inciting incident.
Great point.
Abundantly clear. It's not taking hold of the entire city. Okay, rioters haven't taken control of everything. It is limited. It's nowhere close to the types of riots we saw in the summer of 2020. But I am worried about it escalating. And Waz, you made a really good point. It's unlikely to escalate to the point that the riots escalated in 2020 because people aren't jobless. You know, I mean, it was in the middle of a pandemic when there were shutdowns and people were at home and bored. So hopefully things won't escalate to that extent this time around.
I've seen that a few times too, not just from Anna, but from other people too. Like, oh, the only reason why there was such a massive protest movement in 2020 was because of the pandemic and everyone was just bored. Oh, they're just bored. Like, I'm pretty sure it was a little bit more than that. I'm pretty sure that like that even if there hadn't been a pandemic, it still would have been one of the largest protest movements in American history. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just think it's crazy to blame it all on the fact that people were bored.
Yeah, it's like it was a mixture. It was a mixture of factors. But yeah, I mean, the government, outside of the George Floyd thing, the government was failing us as well, like with the pandemic. Like, so yeah, it was like a mixture of different things the government was failing the people on.
I don't know. I am worried, and it is spreading to other.
I mean, I think people do care about this sort of immigration angle and the deportation angle. I just don't think it's as impassioned as like tying the entire history and founding of America to a 9-minute video of a black dude getting killed on camera with a knee on his neck by the police. Like, it's just not the same. Okay.
Yeah, good point.
Stop scrolling right now. Confused. Same as what?
George Floyd. He's saying like the mass deportations, the violence against the immigrant community that we're seeing now does not warrant the same level of outrage that the killing of George Floyd did.
Sir, you are banned from the taco trucks. You 86 pico de gallo for this MF, okay? I don't want to see you at the churro stand.
Yeah, and again, it's a connected struggle. I don't understand this need to separate and be like, oh, like I totally understand why people got mad about George Floyd, but this is not the same. This is not as serious. This is not worth getting that outrage about. It's like, what are you talking about? It's police brutality either way. It's fucking people with badges coming and abducting, abusing, and in many instances killing people that live in this country. Like, it's a very connected issue.
Yeah, I fucking immediately reject anybody who wants to try and compare, right? Like, oh, it doesn't meet the threshold of this suffering, so I'm not going to mobilize for it, or this, wasn't as brutal as something else that I've seen, so I'm not going to mobilize for it. I don't understand that kind of perspective, this idea that, oh, because the video that we saw of Derek Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's neck for, 9 minutes was horrifying. It was moving to the core anybody with a conscience, and it did reckon, and recall back the entire history of America and slavery and all of that oppression. But
so does this shit.
Exactly. And so you don't need to pit them at odds with each other, as Gavin said. Anybody who tries to kind of undermine a movement by immediately pitting it against another movement that was also valid and viable and justified, I feel like is doing the devil's work, to be honest.
There's always like a few accounts that pop up around these times. I've seen a few where it's like a black woman with like 10,000 followers following 12,000 people, and they're like, black people, let's stay out of this one. This one ain't about us, or whatever. And it's like a CIA officer or something.
Yeah, I mean that. By the way, like if you look at the TikTok I posted,
liberals, wake up. Wake up. The American people are already massively against what Donald Trump is doing to undocumented immigrants in this country. Based on the discourse on this app, you would think that the opposite is true. But here are the numbers. Across racial lines, across age lines, the American people are overwhelmingly opposed to the idea of mass deportations of undocumented immigrants who have lived in this country.
By the way, look at this. Black people are the most against it. 77% of black people are against it, and 75% of Hispanics. This is an example. We have solidarity. Even 56% of white people. That means twice as many white people are against it than support it. There is absolutely overwhelming support for stopping Trump and protesting Trump. Stop complaining. Stop acting weak. You are strong, and we have solidarity. And it's not black people against Hispanic people. That is CIA bullshit. That is FBI bullshit. And if you see somebody like that, you're seeing one of the 11%, one of the tiny minority of conservatives who are trying to use this issue to create a divide that does not exist.
They do not support Donald Trump. So instead of going, maybe if you didn't fly a Mexican flag, I would be there to support you. Why don't you get off your ass, stop nitpicking protests, and actually get out there to fight Trump? Liberals, wake up. Wake up.
All right, chat. I made that last night. There you go. Make sure you are interacting with my TikToks. I'm going to grow on TikTok. So make sure you get on the TikTok, you follow me, you support me, and I'm going to try to post stuff like more often. This one did pretty decently for like the third post I've ever made that was me posting. So it's doing all right. Your friends don't know shit about polling and say, okay, I want you guys to understand a poll of 1,533 US adult citizens is a representative sample. It's actually a very large sample. It is a representative sample. Polls, that is a very large and expensive poll. You could get a pretty representative sample by with like 600 people. 1,500 is extremely representative. If you see any of my posts or any of the Mike from PA fan channels, make sure you're liking and commenting and interacting with it and boosting me in the algorithm. Also, if you have a Mike from PA fan channel on TikTok, let me know. You know, message me on Discord and shoot a message to some of the mods in Discord so we can make sure that we're mutuals, that I can boost you and you can boost my shit. We want to create that Mike from PA industrial clips context. This is the most important chart you're ever going to see. If you have a boomer in your life where they're like, when are you getting a house? I want you to show them this. Housing now is more expensive than ever before, and interest rates are high. So you live in a world of high interest rates and high prices, which means nobody can afford a home. I mean, that's right. I mean, you need to make 6 figures in order to own the average house. So you need to be in the top 10, 15% to own a middle class home. A home that people used to be able to afford making $50K. Like, that's what people don't understand is boomers, they would rent for like a couple years and then they would have enough for a down payment and they would get into a home. It wasn't hard. Now, I mean, fuck. Like, if I want to get a nice home, I need $1 million plus. It's fucking crazy. By the way, chatter, whoever sent me this thing about Bukele, thank you very much. I hope I wasn't too shitty earlier. Astral Aspirin, thank you for the 50 tier 1s. You're the best. You are the best. And we are currently, chat, at an unbelievable 7,387 subs. We are fucking killing it. My parents rented for 6 years and got into a home and was considered a long time. My parents got VA loans. My parents got government loans that are even more forgiving to get onto the property ladder. Like, that's why people join the military. In America, America is a social democracy if you join the military. If you join the military, you can get health care. If you join the military, you can get a subsidized home loan. If you join the military, you get the GI Bill to be educated. If you join the military, you can get a pension starting at age fucking 38. America is a incredibly generous social democracy if you join the military or you're a cop. But for every other worker, they say, fuck you. And that's why so many people get poverty drafted, is because it's rational, because you actually get government help to raise yourself to the middle class. And that's why people do it. And that's why I don't have hatred toward people who served in the military, because a lot of them did so because that's the only choice they had. What I have hatred for are people that defend it, who defend the empire, who look back on it and go, yeah, that was the right, we did good shit. The America's the good guys. That's detestable. Being fooled is different.
Is behind the keyboard. So you see those all the time. Like it's best to just RT and move on.
Yeah, 100%. We do have, speaking of retweeting, we do have one more pretty glorious statement to look at, this time from Jane Huger. He says, Trump and I started this fight in LA, but imagine, he's going all John Lennon on us. Imagine if instead of burning cars, our side showed up and did what the civil rights movement did. Nothing ever violent happened. Nothing was ever burned during the civil rights movement. Civil disobedience, where we match the government's violence with stubborn peacefulness. It takes courage to take a punch, but not throw one. And again, it's so stupid. Like, for one, MLK was not the only fucking civil rights activist. They act like the MLK's movement was the entire civil rights movement. No, the reason why you only fucking hear about MLK is because of
By the way, MLK wasn't some sort of pacifistic guy. Like, he used nonviolence as a tactic because he thought it was the best strategy for black people in America, in the context we live in. He was making a strategic decision, and they shot him anyway.
The tensions that actually existed between him and other civil rights leaders, many of which did have a less pacifist approach. This isn't fucking, like, what are you talking about? There was so much differing approaches, and many of which were less pacifist than other during the civil rights movement. But again, like, thanks for your fucking contribution, bro. Thanks for your fucking cliche bullshit. Most people are not burning cars. Most people are doing exactly what the fuck you're saying.
Imagine all the Waymos living for today.
Yeah, you can tell that John Lennon didn't write this, because then there would be a line about punching your wife and not about taking a punch.
That would be a great B-side that we should get some AI to do. So yeah, there's like, so what? 4 cars got burned. That's a crazy good ratio, in my opinion. That's insanely good ratio.
Get those numbers up.
And there is a impressive lucidity to destroying the Waymos. These like ephemeral signs of the Silicon Valley chrome evil rot that exists, like that. It's like, well, these aren't even personal property. This is the property of some freak billionaire that in so many ways has made our lives epistemically worse. And so it is beautiful to see people target those things first. I heard people were calling them in. It would be a good jackass prank to be like, this is driving a Waymo through LA. Like, that would be a great prank.
Well, I also saw a video of someone leaving LA, and there was a fat fleet of Waymos, all in a mass exodus. So whoever owns this car company, like, recalled them all from LA. They're all like fleeing right now.
Calling them back to the mothership. Yeah. Good. Fly away. Go back to your galaxy.
Yeah, and I gotta go back just one last time to this, like, the Mexican flag thing, because I do have a message. Instead of the Mexican flag, you need to do something more American, like an Israeli flag. That would be great if you held an Israeli flag. That one seems to be good. And you have to make sure that you only have American or Israeli flags. You have to make sure that you don't in any way look or appear Mexican, that you're it'd be good if they're like, oh, we like, you know what, you should be burning Mexican flags. That's what they should be doing at the protest. They should be throwing the churros in the trash, burning the Mexican flags. They should be like, oh, we love condoms, and we hate our Sonic backpacks and our Bart Simpson sweatpants. That's what they should be doing. They should be burning their Bart Simpson sweatpants instead, proving they're American, proving they're not Mexican in any way. We got
to bring back the real leaders of our country. Start carrying the Confederate flag, Griffin.
Yes.
What I thought was hilarious about this is, I tweeted this earlier. The same assholes and cousin fuckers who cry when somebody waves a Mexican flag are the same ones who are working day and night to restore the legacy of Robert E. Lee, famous secessionist, treasonous bastard who fought to ensure slavery would exist in his beloved South and was
In a lot of ways, the Republican Party is about colonizing the rest of America with Confederate and Deep South politics. Like, that's really what the Republican Party is now about. It's about, because white people from the Deep South and white people from California or the Midwest or the North are not similar. Now, I'm not saying that the California whites or Midwest whites or Northeast whites are not racist. There is a lot of racism in these areas, without a doubt. However, Deep South whites are racial hierarchic. They believe in a strict racial hierarchy. They are full-blown white supremacists. It is inculcated in their every vote, and they vote on racism as their number one issue. And so the Republican Party is about colonizing that kind of philosophy into the rest of America in places where it never really had purchase. That's why they focus on the Confederate shit, because he's from New York. How the fuck is a New York German celebrating Robert E. Lee? What the fuck are you talking about? What is Donald Trump's Robert E. Lee heritage? There is none. It is just racial hierarchy. It is just racism. And it is plausible deniability for white supremacy. And I gotta say this. I think if you are a supporter of Robert E. Lee, you should be cashiered out of the military. I think if you support any kind of Confederate anything, you should be considered a fucking traitor and a military security threat. And you should be cashiered out of the fucking military with an dishonorable discharge. Get these fucking scum out. Can you imagine if Germany was doing like, oh, let's do the Nazi general base. This will be the Erwin Rommel base. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Foiled from it, failed miserably.
Yeah, let's be real here. Like they're doing this fucking like white supremacist like ethnic cleansing of people here in the country. You know, that is what they're doing. And anyone who's like, you know what, we gotta do this the right way. It's just like with LA, isn't the whole point of America to have like a bunch of flags and that like we are multicultural and that like we like respect where we came from and where we are now?
No, literally fucking fire hydrants in my neighborhood are still painted with the Italian flag because this was an Italian immigrant community for a long time. Like the buildings will have Italian flags instead of the exposed brick on the outside. It is throughout all of American history. And now a bunch of Vietnamese families have moved to this neighborhood. So now some of the fire hydrants have the Vietnamese flag on them. It's always, always, always been a part of America to include where you came from with where you are now, and a marriage of those two parts of you. Like, think about Italian Americans and how much pride they have. Think about Irish Americans when you think of the East Coast, right? Boston has entire neighborhoods on the North End that are all devoted to Italian people still to this day, right? Same in Southie. It's a very like Irish coded neighborhood. But nobody makes a fuss about it because why? Because they're white.
They
people.
Used to about the Irish.
True,
as Soccer once reminded us.
But yeah, I just I love the people that are like, just I feel like they've just never been to LA to realize that like the majority of the culture here, it's called Los Angeles. It's called Los Angeles. Like it's all like San Luis Obispo. Like I think it's pathetic. And yeah.
Not only that, like all the fucking beaches, everything. It's all Spanish down there. Like, you know what I mean? And
but more to what people say is like, oh my God, images like this are playing right into Trump's hands, because if they didn't put the Mexican flag on the Waymo, Trump would stop. What the fuck? No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't at all. They would keep doing it. They would just keep going. I don't see how this has changed anything about the trajectory of what Stephen Filler and all the other fuckers are doing. Like it wouldn't stop anything.
Well, technically, the protests.
Liberals are really concerned about the optics of Mexican flags. I got shitted on by a bunch of libs on Facebook for disagreeing with their take about the flags. This is what you have to say. I grew up with the Scottish flag over my bed. I went to Celtic Fest. I was proud of my heritage. Like, this is how it always was. And flying those flags never meant that I hated my family or the place that I was from. It was pride in myself. Mexicans are flying Mexican flags because they're targeted for being Mexican. And they are proud of Mexico. They're not trying to take California for Mexico, you fucking asshole. They are showing pride in their heritage. And it's not just Mexican flags. You see American flags. You see Mexican-American flags. You see Guatemalan flags. You see flags of all nations flying, because that's what the only good thing about America is, that we are a melting pot, is that we bring the best and the brightest and we fuse it together and we create new something. We alloy all these metals into something greater. That is what we are. What makes America strong is that we get to pick and choose, and we get to bring in these ideas. You cannot have pride in America without having pride in yourself, you fucking scum. So if you see someone saying something about Mexico, ask them what their heritage is. Ask them if they've ever gone to a St. Patty's Day parade or a Columbus Day parade, or, you know, celebrating Italian heritage or Irish heritage. Fuck you. I mean, the city of Chicago dyes the river green. I have seen Irish flags and Indian flags always flown with pride. And like, what the fuck is wrong with you? How dare you question these people's pride and their identity, you scum, you coward.
Have stopped them from doing more ICE detentions, right? They came out this weekend and said, hey, because of all of the demonstrations and because of all the people flooding the streets, they were unable to deport as many people as they planned. They were unable to black bag as many innocent family members off the street. So if anything, the one takeaway would be to continue to get out there as best as people can, because it is creating disruptions. It is throwing a wrench in Donald Trump's plan, because what he really wants is, and I think to give some credence to the people, I think that are, you know, worried about optics. Obviously, I don't give a fuck if you fly a Mexican flag, and I don't really care about optics personally, but I do think that there is this worry that some people have that might be legitimate, that Donald Trump is just itching for an excuse to declare martial law. And I don't think that there's anything that we can do to stop that and prevent it if he is really determined to do it. But I think a lot of people are just nervous, like, hey, we don't want to step on the bear trap that triggers something that's just going to be catastrophic because this guy knows no restraint.
Yeah, but I mean, like...
Look out the door. All right, chat. That's going to be it for me today. Thanks for hanging out. Don't forget to like my Tickety Talk. I'm trying to post more on Tickety Talk. All right? I'm posting more on TikTok. So take that shit, like the posts, like the YouTube, get involved, and make sure if you see it on your For You page or you see it on your recommendeds that you click. That really helps boost us in the algorithm. Thank you so much. I'm going to send y'all over to VO. VO is showing off her new pickle statue, the pickle pervert statue. You should only be allowed to fly American stars at bars, but also Israeli flags, Trump flags, Confederate flags, don't tread on me flags. Exactly. It's fucking horseshit. I see Cuban flags. I see all sorts of shit. What the fuck are they talking about? Fuck you, you liberal losers. All right, everybody, stay safe out there. Solidarity forever, my friends. That's how socialism wins. Thank you. I'll see you soon, and free Palestine.